Maybe I didn't know Andre for that long. I do know he wouldn't have given up.
We are back with our second semester of Season 2 of Gen V. Welcome back to my channel, where today I'll be breaking down this premiere episode. We'll be discussing every shocking moment from a flashback VOT disaster. We'll be talking about some of the new characters, as well as saying goodbye to a beloved character. Get your pencils ready because school's back in session. Let's dive into this episode, full spoilers ahead. Right off the bat, Gen V kicks us back into time and we go back to 1967. This episode opens with a man in a lab coat, clearly in a panic, sprinting through the VOT hallways. He's headed straight for a group of scientists and VOT employees all gathered around, looking a little too eager to take an injection of a vibrant blue liquid. Now this could just be me, but this color looked exactly the same like Compound V, which makes me wonder, is this some new sneaky variant? Something designed to look like Compound V, but secretly do something else? Maybe even fool VOT himself and keeping the soups in the dark. Our mystery man is banging on the door, screaming it's not ready yet, and you'll notice the door says Odessa Project with security clearance required. The Odessa Project being this big mystery of the season. Now the mystery man eventually breaks through, but it's too late. The injections are in and the damage is done. As he frantically asks, do they feel anything? And all of a sudden, it hits. We watch as the horror unfolds in a classic Boys Universe fashion, as the sickening detail as one man violently throws up blood, another man's face melts off like a wax doll, and a third man's belly explodes, and we even see one catches fire, which to me reminded me of Golden Boy from season 1 of Gen V. And then in the grand finale, we watch as one of the scientists has tentacles coming out of his ass, which also reminded me of Billy Butcher when he used the Compound V in last season. As we watch them all dying in the most agonizing, horrific way imaginable. As it's brutal, it's VOT, it's the boys, and it's gloriously messed up. Now as the last screen fades, our mystery man, gasping for air, tries to hit the fire alarm, but unfortunately he doesn't make it, as the smoke has got to him and we are assuming that he died in this moment. Now as the camera pans to the VOT employee's badge, we get the reveal where this VOT employee, this desperate scientist who tried to warn them, is no other than Dr. Thomas Godolkin. Yes, the same Godolkin, the namesake of our beloved and deeply flawed Godolkin University. Now, as we learned in season 1, Godolkin University was founded back in 1965, which is just 2 years before this catastrophic flashback, and we also know that the university was made as a front to study soups and their behaviors. So the million-dollar question is, what exactly is Project Odessa? Was Godolkin trying to create something to help the soups, or something to control them? Or perhaps he created this to give regular humans a fighting chance just in case the soups ever went off the rails. Either way, the implications are huge, and I am ready to peel back this onion to figure out what this project's all about. Now, speaking of Godolkin University, we snap back from the past into the present with the classic VOT-style propaganda commercial. It's all smiles and sunshine and completely fabricated narrative about the past events. They're basically saying, come to God you, everything's fine, nothing to see here. As we get this in memoriam section showcasing the soups who have died across the boys in the Gen V series. And this includes Victoria Newman. Now in this video, we see that they're pinning the death on former President Robert Singer, but also on Annie, aka Starlight, who they also remind us is on the run. Now remembering from the finale of season 4 of The Boys that Homelander has full control over Soup's security, God U is now under new management. As we're introduced to the new dean by the name of Cypher, a Soup who promises a new era for the students.
So join us this fall and become the hero our world so desperately needs.
Now let's check in with our favorite God U troublemakers as we cut over to Jordan, who's alone in a cell and clearly distraught. We watch as Jordan gets transferred as they're resisting the guards, but ultimately overwhelmed and thrown into the back of a van. Now inside this van, Jordan finds Emma. As they're both happy to see each other, but again we can see that they're both broken, as Emma believes this is it. Their time has come, they're about to be killed. But Jordan the Protector tries to comfort her, promising her that they'll be okay. Now as they arrive to their destination, the van doors open and outside is Kate. Kate welcomes them back to the university, and we quickly learn that Kate used her influence and pushed the higher-ups and ultimately helped to get them released. And for a brief second there's a little glimmer of hope, but then Kate notices that someone is missing, and that someone is Andre. As she scans Jordan's mind, the truth hits her like a freight train. She finds out that Andre is dead. As Kate Face says it all, she had no idea what happened to Andre, and you can just see the regret, the guilt washing over her, and realizing the cost of siding with Vought and not her friends. Now, this scene hits different, and that's because at the very beginning of this episode, a simple, powerful title card appeared which read, "For Chance." Now, for those that do not know, this premiere episode was dedicated to the actor Chance Perdomo, who played Andre, who unfortunately tragically passed away in a motorcycle accident in 2024 at the young age of 27. Now, Chance was on his way to Toronto to start filming for this very season 2 of Gen V. Now, out of immense respect for him, his character Andre Anderson was not going to be recast. Instead, the entire second season was rewritten to honor him and reflect his passing within the narrative. Now, with that being said, you can feel that in this episode. Andre's death is not just a plot point, it's really a profound loss that will clearly resonate throughout the entire season, a way to keep Chance's memory alive. R.I.P. Now, Jordan and Emma meet Stacey Ferreira, who was an ex-student and now the head of Student Life. Now, as the God You promo video showed, the staff is now entirely occupied by the soups, and we see that she's a soup with a stinger on her ass, and if you use it, it can kill you. Now, there are statements prepared for both Jordan and Emma, but Jordan refuses until Emma says they'll do it because there's no way in hell they're going back to Elmira. As it is officially move-in day for the students, and we head onto the stage with Jordan and Emma, and we see their parents are there, but they are not happy to see them, but they also notice that Kate and Sam are on stage as well. There is no happy reunion for any of them, especially Emma and Sam, who last time she saw him, he called her out for being an attention seeker and made her literally feel small. We watch as Jordan cooperates and reads the maid's statement in front of the press, confirming that they were the ones to liberate their peers who were imprisoned, and they were wrongfully accused of the Godolphin massacre. But the question from the press remains, where is Andre and where is Marie? Now, immediately after the press conference backstage, Jordan confronts Kate, demanding to know Marie's whereabouts after she broke out months ago. Now, Kate claims she has no idea where Marie is, assuring Jordan that she is still on the run. Now, Kate tells them that she made a deal. Jordan and Emma must remain on campus and stay completely out of trouble. Now, neither Jordan or Emma are buying that Kate is genuinely looking out for them, and honestly, who would? As we watch Jordan punches Kate in the face and we watch them walk away. Now, this is where, to me, Kate really shines as one of the most fascinating characters in this series. Now, we saw the heartbreaking backstory from Kate last season with her mom shaming her for what happened to her brother, which led her straight into the arms of the previous dean who just straight up manipulated her. We know that Kate has been used and twisted and forced to mind control her friends. Which begs the question for Kate this season, will she truly continue to buy into Vought and be their puppet, or is she playing the long game? Is she deep down torn between self-preservation and protecting her friends? We're going to have to see this season if she's going to continue to play both sides, or will she finally pick a team and either go all in for Vought or join the fight to take them down. But I will say, based on the end of this episode, it looks like Kate may be siding with Vought for a while. Now, speaking of that new management, we cut to Cypher, who again is the new Soup Dean, as he's delivering a welcome back speech to the student body. He's all about a fresh start, trying to project an image of a compassionate leader. He even explicitly states that he was against the torturing of the students in the woods. Now, during this speech, Jordan suddenly has a flashback to seeing Cypher's face in Elmira. This completely contradicts his "I was against it" claim. As Cypher says that the virus to kill all soups is no more, but we know that that's not true because Frenchie in season 4 of The Boys managed to recreate it, and it's now in Butcher's possession. Now, Cypher talks about how he no longer trusts humans after the creation of the woods and the experimenting on the soups, and of course the making of the killer virus in season 1 of Gen V, and he promises to prepare the students for the brave new world. Now, Jordan and Emma have no idea who Cypher is, and his identity is unknown as well as his powers. Emma really wishes that Marie was with them, but Jordan is glad she's not because they believe they don't need her. Jordan is still broken and feels helpless as Emma plans to visit Andre's house to tell his dad what happened to him. Now, meanwhile, back in the dean's office, Kate isn't just taking punches, she's also throwing questions. She confronts Cypher about Andre's death, but he's tight-lipped, refusing to share any details. Now, it's clear their relationship is quite icy, and Kate, in a moment of frustration, tries to use her mind-reading powers on him. But this shows to be a big mistake, as we see Cypher, who again, we don't know who he is, we don't know what he's capable of, he grabs her hand and almost shoves it into his blender. He stops just short, but the message is clear: don't test me, I'm in charge. And just for a good measure, he orders her to continue looking for Marie. Now, I'm a huge fan of the actor Hamish Linklater. Like, he's such a great actor in movies, but in particularly in TV shows, whether that's Fargo, Legion, Midnight Mass. He did a great job of voicing Batman. Like, he is such a great actor, and I'm so excited to see him in this season. Now, going back to Cypher mentioning Marie, we find her. She's still on the run. She's keeping a low profile at a gas station, gathering up some food and a cell phone. As we see that she's still laser focused on finding her younger sister, Annabeth. As we see her calling various places, desperately searching, but Annabeth is nowhere to be found. Now, the Annabeth mystery is a thread from last season that I'm desperately waiting to have a good payoff. Is she under Vought's control? Has she become a soup herself, perhaps fighting against him? Or something else entirely? Whatever it is, I hope it's a revelation that hits hard and has a really good payoff, whether she's a good person, a bad person, or somewhere in the middle. I hope that we get some more answers about her this season. Now, as Marie flips through the channels looking for something to distract her, we get a fun callback to Vought Expo. She sees an ad for a movie starring Kate and Sam called Flipped, clearly Vought's take on Freaky Friday. But then she comes across a news conference where she sees Jordan and Emma on stage reading Vought's propaganda. The look on her face says it all. She's in disbelief, she's also disappointed, and she's heartbroken by the sense of betrayal. Right now, she clearly believes her friends have now cooperated with the enemy. Next morning, Marie finds herself caught between some Homelander cultists and some Starlight supporters. Now, one of them makes a threat to her, but Marie steps in and uses her blood powers. We see her brutally, efficiently, and almost effortlessly take down these Homelanders, leaving a very clear and very bloody message. Now, this isn't the hesitant Marie we once knew in season 1. This is a soup in control, truly embracing her powers, at least to the extent that she knows. Now, the only problem is those thankful citizens were naturally recording the whole thing. And later on, we'll see how that phone footage comes back into play. Now, from one cool action moment to an utter heartbreak scene, we follow Emma to Andre's house, tasked with the devastating job of telling his father what happened to his son. You can just feel the weight of grief as Emma walks through the house and we see pictures of Andre. As to me, it's clear this scene is the show's heartfelt tribute and a moment of silence for their lost friend. She finds Andre's father, Polarity, downstairs as he's a broken man. We see him drowning his sorrows in booze, and he's aware of what happened thanks to his Vought connections, and he's consumed by guilt as he blames himself for Andre's fate.
I always told Andre he was made of steel, but he wasn't. He was flesh and blood. He was my flesh and blood.
Now, he's not exactly thrilled to see Emma as he's pushing her away, wanting her to leave him alone. Now, Emma tries to rally him to get him to help unmask Cypher and avenge his son Andre. But Polarity's too deep into his despair, forcing her to leave. Before doing so, Emma tells him that even though she didn't know Andre well, she knows that he would have never given up. And little does she know, this actually worked. Later in the episode, we see him on his computer starting his own investigation on who Cypher is. Now, it is important to remember that his powers are literally killing him, so he can't use them without risking his life. Meanwhile, back at the same gas station we saw Marie at, we meet a new soup by the name of Dognot. His name says it all. He's got the tracking abilities of a canine and he's on Marie's scent. Now, back at the campus, we see Vaught's brought back the Deep's old fraternity, which has been gone for over a decade. Which, by the way, if you've seen the trailer for this season, the Deep will be making an appearance, so I'm really intrigued to see how he plays into this overall story. Now, inside, we find Jordan trying to drink away their problems and getting into a brief one-sided fight with another soup. Now, Emma's also coping at the party, only to run smack into her old bully, Justine, who's now, out of all people, dating Sam. Now, Emma pushes Justine aside, desperate to talk to Sam about his murderous past, but Sam, he's completely apathetic thanks to Kate's mind control from last season, which stripped him from all of his feelings. Now, in this moment, something shatters. It seems like his mind control has broken.
Andre, die.
Fuck are you talking?
Ask Kate.
Now, with Sam's mind control broken, we see him confronting Kate. He's frustrated about pretending to be happy, about dating Justine, about living this fake perfect life. As Kate offers to wipe his feelings again, but he refuses. He just wants it to all stop, and he wants to go home. But Vought's grip is tight as Kate, clearly under the orders to keep him in line, touches his face, putting him back in the mind control of not feeling anything. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier, you can see Kate after she did this. She doesn't want to do this. She's not happy about this. Again, it hints at her own struggles within Vought's control. Now, speaking of feeling numb, after the soul-crushing interaction, Emma shrinks down, embracing her cricket internet persona as she lets people toss her into beer cups for beer pong. It's a sad callback to her old ways, using this performance for acceptance and to escape this crushing weight of reality, including her complicated feelings for Sam. Now, going back to favorite characters of season 1, I am a huge Emma fan. Like, I love the arc that we saw her on in season 1, and also visually, the way the show uses her powers when they make her into mini Emma, it's incredible to me, and it really does sell the idea of her vulnerabilities, but also her escapism. Now, back with Dog Knock, he catches up with Marie, who's in her hotel room, leading to an intense, brutal fight between the two. Now, Marie is holding her own in most of this fight, but eventually we see Dog Knock gets the upper hand. Now, as he's about to take her out, the light starts to flicker and in steps Starlight, delivering a blow that knocks out Dog Knock. Starlight is back. She's been keeping a low profile since the boys' finale, and she's got a plan that needs Marie's help. Now, Starlight was able to find her because of that video we were talking about earlier, as she wants her to go back to Godolphin for her own safety, but also for a way to take down Vought. She reveals to her that Project Odessa, which is rumored to be returning, and Starlight believes it's the real reason Godolphin University was created in the first place. Now, the details about Project Odessa isn't known to anyone, including Starlight, but they will need Marie to figure it out and to stop it. We see Marie isn't keen on returning at all, but Starlight delivers a powerful prep talk calling her a good person and a real hero, and reminding her that she can't run forever. As we know, there's a war coming for season 5 and the finale of The Boys, and Marie needs to be on the right side of history. Now, back at the fraternity party, Emma learns about Marie's fight and where she is. She tells Jordan, who's not exactly thrilled, as Jordan still holds it against Marie for leaving them and Elmira and believing Marie was never going to come back for them. Now, Emma knows Andre would have looked for Marie, so she decides, regardless of being told to stay on campus and not to get into any trouble, as we see Jordan eventually decides to join her, but unfortunately, Kate overhears this conversation and she follows them. Now, yet again, another reunion that doesn't go well. As Marie confronts them for their Vought deal, and Jordan hits back about her abandonment in Elmira. It's in this moment that Marie learns about Andre and his death. And it's in this moment that we as the audience finally get the full picture of what happened to him. As we find out that Andre died, tried saving them and trying to help them escape Elmira.
Why didn't we stop?
Because he was trying to be you.
And just when you think it couldn't get worse, we see Kate arrives trying to convince Marie to rejoin Godolphin. But Kate uses her powers and knows Marie has been talking to Starlight and knows about Project Odessa. She demands that Marie tell Vought about Starlight and what just happened and her knowing about Project Odessa before Vought finds out and tortures her. Now Marie refuses, and this is where Kate moves in to try to use her mind control powers. But instead, we get a similar scene to the finale of Gen V, where Marie stopped Kate from touching Jordan, and now Jordan returns the favor by using their powers and slamming Kate into the wall and cracking her skull. Now Marie tries to help out Kate, but Jordan stops her because they can't let Kate touch them. Now, with Kate unconscious and potentially dying, they make the brutal decision to leave her for dead.
One journey has ended, another one begins, and I know sophomore year is gonna be lit.
Welcome back to my channel, where today I'm breaking down episode 2 of season 2 of Gen V. Now, I like this episode a lot better than the premiere episode because it had a lot going for it. We get an unexpected team up who discover what Project Odessa is about. We see Kate finally wakes up and her powers aren't acting right. We see Dean Cypher has a new and dangerous course for the students, and the war on humans and soups get underway. So with all that said, let's remember to have some fun, as the Rememberer would probably say, and let's break down this episode. Full spoilers ahead. We kick off this episode with Marie looking absolutely miserable recording a TikTok. She's putting on a brave face, explaining why she chose to leave Godolphin, needing to take a mental health journey. But let's be real, we can immediately see that this is an idea taken from the Vought playbook, as she's trying to get back in the good graces, especially after the Kate incident. We see Marie is struggling and she can't keep this fake smile going, as Emma, who's filming, tries to nudge her back into the right direction. Now at this random cleaners, we see Jordan, Marie, and Emma are still under the heavy impression that they have killed Kate. Now Emma gives Marie a much needed pep talk, convincing her to make the best, fakest I'm okay and everything's okay post imaginable. As Marie makes her video and she's ready to get back to be a guardian and embracing her sophomore year because, as she puts it, it's about to be lit. Now Marie gets her first introduction to Dean Cypher, and he immediately sees right through Marie's act. He doesn't waste any time as he brings up that she did see him at Elmira. Cypher brings up the death of Andre, explaining that his condition, one that him and his father share, played a critical role in his passing. As he says, Andre pushed himself too much and the neuromicro tears were ultimately what killed him. Now Marie is in utter disbelief and refuses to believe this until Cypher pulls out Andre's medical file and confirms everything he just said. Now before Marie leaves his office, Cypher tells her about Kate being attacked the night before, but surprise surprise, she survived. Now to me it appears that Cypher is very aware of her involvement of what happened to Kate, but he needs Marie because of what we learned later in this episode. But I will say, I am so glad the show didn't drag the mystery of what happened to Kate, especially since the trailer of The Weeks Ahead spoiled it immediately after episode 1. Now, speaking of cover-ups, we immediately get another classic boys-style news report with Firecracker on her show, reporting on what happened to Kate. She doesn't waste any time claiming that this was a hate crime against Supes, immediately creating more tension between Supes and humans.
This was a hate crime against the most persecuted minority group in history, superheroes.
Now, after hearing the news, Emma, perhaps a little unhinged here, she casually suggests that they finish the job with Kate. Now, thankfully, no one's taking her seriously, but we see Marie has already told them about the mysterious Odessa Project mission, and Emma is completely down to help. Jordan, however, is a hard no, terrified it'll lead them back into Elmira. Now, at the hospital, we see Sam is checking in on Kate. Now, as he's telling her that he's there for her and she's not alone, we see that Kate is still unconscious and she can't communicate normally. Now, instead, she briefly grabs a nurse's hand and speaks through her and says,
"They left me to die. How could they?"
What? Kate? Kate, can you hear me? Kate, what happened?
Emma, help me.
Emma.
And then, in a terrifying display of her new ability, or maybe her powers acting up in some way, she makes the nurse stab the other nurse in the eye with a syringe and begins attacking her. Now, this to me, and later on this episode seems to confirm this seems like a new aspect or a new element about Kate's powers, because I'm not sure she commanded that nurse to do what she did, or did she do it out of anger? Either way, I'm sure Dean Cypher will find a way to exploit this new ability of her mind control, where she doesn't have to be fully conscious to use it. Meanwhile, after listening to Emma plead for help to look into Cypher and to avenge his son, we see Polarity decides to join the Godolkin staff. Now, he's putting on quite an act, desperate to keep Cypher from seeing through him. Now, at Godolkin, we see the classes are officially back in full effect, and we find Emma in a hilarious and yet painfully accurate class that's called Advanced Influencer Fluency, taught by a woman with wings named Modesty Monarch.
I had an Amazon ring light and 11 followers. That all changed when I posted my now viral video, Super in the Streets, but Obedient in the Sheets.
This to me was the show's satire on today's youth chasing going viral and speaking on topics for purely clicks and also spreading misinformation without facts. Now, Modesty has a conversation with Emma and encourages her to use her platform of 5 million followers to speak out about the Kate attack and to spew hate against Starlight and her followers. Now, Emma thankfully has grown past her season 1 influencer days and lets the teacher know that she's not interested in doing what she just offered, and also she's not interested in her class. But of course, the dean insists that she takes this class, forcing her to stay. Which to me is making it clear that Cypher will use any of the students to get them to create any narrative that Vought wants them to. This definitely seems to be a key element of this season, but also leading to The Boys season 5. Now, while all of that's happening, we see Marie continuing to keep up appearances on social media when she finds Jordan in her dorm. Now, Jordan discovers Andre's file and demands to know why Marie has it. But they're interrupted by Stacy, who introduces herself to Marie, and then she proceeds to vomit up honey, making sure they attend the hero optimization seminar. Now, this new hero optimization course is led by the dean himself, as he's handpicked a select few from the school, including Marie and Jordan. This course is very important to the rankings, as he says, and the first lesson is to press a button. Pretty simple, right? But they have to get past a suit by the name of Vicourt in order to do so. He's kind of like a mix of Thor meets Hercules, but not as powerful, but he does have a hammer and he seems to be strong. Now, some of the students decide to mock Vicourt's cinematic masterpiece that has a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes, which ends up being a big mistake. As Vicourt clearly still in his feelings from those reviews, he unleashes his hammer, knocking out the students like they're bowling pins. As the chaos ensues, we see some of the students are literally running for the door, begging to be let out this nightmare as our dynamic duo steps up. We see Jordan leaps into action, taking on Vicourt. And to give credit where credit is due, we see Jordan having a very good effort against Vicourt, but ultimately we see that this Vicourt is on a whole nother level when it comes to strength. As Jordan gets overpowered and tossed around like a rag doll, we see Jordan is temporarily down as Vicourt sets his sights on Marie. Now, our blood-bending hero is the last one standing and tries her best to take him down, but has no luck. As the other students are furiously trying to reach the button, we see Vicourt's presence is just too overwhelming for them. As Jordan tries again, only to get slammed to the ground once more. Now, Marie has had enough. She uses her blood manipulation to directly stop Vicourt's heart. Now, for a second, it actually works, but Vicourt begins to beat on his chest and forces his heart to start again. As he grabs Marie and starts choking her, it looks like Cypher made sure to let him know to not hold back against her, but to make sure he doesn't kill her at the same time. Now, Jordan ultimately manages to hit the button, and just like that, the class ends. As Cypher walks in, thanking Vicourt for his time and says, "Same time next week." As we see when the student's spine got crushed during this session, we see Cypher doesn't bat an eye. Instead, he delivers a speech that redefines Godolkin's new mission statement.
In this school, it has no place for those who cannot hack the pressure. Lisa, you're being transferred to performing arts.
He's not here to coddle them, he's here to push them to their limits to unlock their full potential. As he puts it, it's all about leveling up. As he continues to say, you're not students, you're soldiers.
And you will fight for the cause.
Now, let's talk about Cypher's training here, which to me isn't about necessarily making them stronger, it's about making them ruthless. He's desensitizing them to violence, to pain, and the idea of collateral damage. This is a military-grade regiment that may be Cypher plan or maybe even Homelanders. Now, back with Emma, we see her sticking up for a human who's being picked on by Rufus, as she learns that Polarity has joined the staff as she takes what she believes to be a Xanax as he pulls her aside to talk. Now, he admits that she was right about stepping up and figuring out who Cypher is and avenging his son. Now, Emma is happy to have an adult on their side for the first time, as Polarity plans to take down Cypher, but he doesn't just want to stop there. He goes on to say that he wants to take down the 7th Tower. But Emma slows him down and suggests they take one thing at a time, but Polarity is fueled by his son's death and isn't thinking strategically. As Emma reminds him what Andre told her about his dad being the smartest person in the room and always having a plan first. As Emma gets him on board to help her figure out what Project Odessa is all about. Now, back in their dorm, Marie finally admits that she was wrong for leaving them back in Elmira. But she's not the only one carrying the burden, as Jordan, in a moment of honesty, admits that they knew that Andre's plan was bad, but they didn't do anything about it. Now, to lighten the mood, Jordan shares a funny weed story about Andre, which is a bittersweet reminder of the good times, the laughter they shared, and the friendship that they had. As we watch Marie and Jordan forgiving each other, and they ultimately decide to kiss and make up. Now look, I'll be honest, the teen ain'ts and the YA stuff isn't my cup of tea in general, but in particular the way they use it in the show. It's like one of my least favorite things from season 1, but I will say it is good and nice to see Marie and Jordan back on the same page. Meanwhile, we see this new duo between Emma and Polarity as they hunt for answers, making a trip to the archives department. This is where we meet the Rememberer. And yes, you've guessed right, his superpower is that he remembers everything. However, memory lane isn't a smooth pass. As it turns out, the Rememberer has been holding a 20-year grudge against Polarity, and he refuses to let them into the archives. But luckily, Emma, who happens to be a little bit high at this moment, reveals that she was a huge fan back when he had his show on television. To me, this whole scene is peak Emma, her slightly altered state leading to an unexpected breakthrough. Now, this scene also gave us a name we haven't heard in a while, and that's Madeline Stillwell. The Rememberer brings up how it was Madeline herself who made the call to cancel his beloved show. To me, this scene was just hilarious, and this is just an example of the many reasons why I'm a big fan of the Emma character, because her comedic timing is great, and her back and forth with the Rememberer was just flat out funny as hell to me. Again, thanks to Emma's charm and possibly the Rememberer's soft spot for his fans, they make their way into Thomas Godolphin archives. Now it's here where Emma and Polarity begin to peel back the layers of Vault's truly racist history as they find these Nazi Klan memorabilia and they find the direct links to Project Odessa behind a hidden door. Now, it's important to note that Polarity uses powers to open up this hidden door, and we know that using his powers is actually killing him. Now, if I'm being honest, I do think the show probably had plans on killing Polarity, probably in this second season, but obviously they had to rewrite this second season, so I believe he's going to probably stick around for a little bit longer than it was initially planned. Now, they find a file with a bunch of baby certificates, and Emma claims to know what they are, and she is still extremely high at this point as she gets excited and grows giant size, setting off the alarm. The plus side is she got big on her own without needing to be belittled to do so. Now, back at the Deep's old fraternity, we actually get to see the Deep welcome some new pledges. Now, we watch as Sam presses Deep about Homelander, the new head of the Soup's safety department, as he asks Deep if he's looking into who attacked Kate. Now, I do wonder if we'll see more of the Deep this season, but it was kind of funny to see him in this one scene and also gross at the same time. But we see Sam overhears one of the pledges talking about how Emma used his phone to go to the place where Kate happened to be attacked, as we see Sam starting to suspect that Emma was involved. Now, back with our lovebirds, Marie tells Jordan that she loves them. And just as the words hang in the air, we see some fireworks are starting to explode outside. Now, Emma's running through the halls and rushes to tell Marie and Jordan what she found. But she runs into Sam, who, remember, was looking for her after learning she was in the town where Kate was attacked. Without Kate's mind control to keep him suppressed, Sam is back to hearing the voices in his head, and we all know that's when he's the most dangerous and most out of control. Now, Emma, with her newfound confidence in her ability, she's not intimidated by Sam as she reminds him the bad things that Kate has done, but not only to them by sending them to Elmira, but also to him and his brother Luke last season. She even throws in another reminder at him, and those are those dead bodies he piled up back in season 1.
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to face up to what you've done.
A desperate attempt to defuse a ticking time bomb, and it actually worked as Emma gets to walk away. It's going to be interesting to see how this season handles Sam. Will he lean more into his villainous side and continue to be a Vought puppet like Kate, or will we see both of them join the good team? Now, as we come to the end of this episode, we see the student body is celebrating, having apparently found the ones responsible for attacking Kate. Everyone's gathered watching Vought news, and here's where Vought shows its true colors yet again. Vought has cooked up a completely fabricated story. Dognot claims a Starlighter who is, in reality, the kind guy who paid for Marie's food in the gas station in episode 1, but also the same guy that she saved as well. As Dognot said that this supporter grabbed a gun and he was forced to put him down. Now, make no mistake, this is a show absolutely making a commentary with Vought claiming the victim was reaching for a gun, giving Dognot the no choice just to shoot him. We remember this guy didn't want any trouble with the Homelander supporters who were trying to start a fight with him. We even see the headline itself is designed to smear this victim, labeling him as a terrorist thug with a long history of unlawful behavior and mental illness. Look, it's a sad reality, but this is a familiar narrative used to justify these heinous acts. As this horrifying news plays, we see Emma finds Marie and hands her the file. As we finally get the reveal of what Project Odessa is, and that is Marie. She is Project Odessa. As we cut back to the hospital where Kate finally wakes up. Now, she finds herself surrounded by dead bodies that she apparently caused, a horrifying aftermath of her powers going haywire. As Cypher walks in and simply asks her,
What did you get into?
I was a girl who got her period. That is it.
And you make me feel like a monster for it, and you let my sister think that I'm a monster. You let her believe that it's my fault.
Welcome back to my channel, where today I'm breaking down this third episode of Season 2 of Gen V. Now this episode had some unexpected emotional moments. We get another unexpected pairing, we have Kate's back at the campus, Emma's empowering others, and Marie finds out where her sister's been all these years. Let's get some answers and break down this episode, full spoilers ahead. Now, it's interesting that we open this episode from a human's perspective. A very interesting choice to kind of give us that perspective of seeing this person who we met briefly in episode 2, who Emma had to step in from Rufus, who was messing with her. We watch as she arrives at God U and immediately pops 3 Xanax, and you can practically feel her nerves. And then because certain supes with powers just love to make things worse and misuse their powers, we have this supe with X-ray vision who scans her inappropriately. Now at work, she spots a resistance sign and her heart sinks. She knows the supes will immediately assume she's the one supporting Starlight, who is enemy number 1 for some of the supes across this world. Now she throws it away, but all of a sudden it pops back up. As a total asshole supe student strolls in and takes a treat without paying and grabs her by the collar to intimidate her and eventually leaves. We see her turn around and yep, the sign is back up yet again. Clearly someone's messing with her, and that someone we'll discuss a little bit later. But what I will say about this opening, it just reinforces the idea of like we're so used to seeing this show in particular through the eyes and through the lens of supes that you just have to imagine being a human in this position, how scary, how unnerving, how unsettling it could be being around these supes, especially these students who don't even know how to use their powers. So I like how this opening just again switches the perspective of what it's like to be a human in this world. Meanwhile, our core crew at Polarity's house is trying to crack the biggest mystery since discovering the Woods Project in Season 1. And of course, I'm referring to Project Odessa. Now, as I mentioned in my previous breakdown, I assumed that there was other test subjects a part of this project, and we get the confirmation there were. There were 25 to be exact, and none of them survived, making Marie the sole survivor. Or so we think, because we know Vought loves to keep a good secret. Now, Polarity suggests they use Marie as Starlight described, Otessa as a weapon. Use Marie as a weapon. Jordan, however, has their suspicions about Starlight, questioning if she knew Marie was the actual project when she asked her to destroy it. Now, with Marie's parents dead, the only person who may have answers is Pam, her aunt, not by blood, but she was her mother's best friend. Now, Marie is nervous to reach out to Pam because they haven't spoken since her parents died, so you can understand the nervousness. Now, going back to that scene, I'm liking the Polarity continuing to be like this grounded adult in the mix, as we see him checking in on Emma about her supersize incident in the last episode. Now, Emma lets him know that she's okay, she's handling her powers now a lot better than what she did before with making herself puke, so it's good to know. And again, I'm liking this Polarity and Emma back and forth and this kind of friendship they're developing. I'm really excited to see Polarity get more in the mix as the season goes on. Now, back on campus, a crowd awaits Kate's return. Everyone's thrilled, but Kate is clearly not fully recovered mentally or physically. Now, Stacy fills Kate in on the return of Thomas Godolkin Day, as we get this really awkward brief reunion between Kate, Emma, Marie, and Jordan. As we watch, Kate remains tight-lipped about the fact that they were the ones responsible for putting her in a hospital and leaving her for dead. Now, back in the hero optimization class, things continue to be intense as we watch Marie takes out one of the students. It's here we can get a better understanding of the big picture of why Cypher spun Kate's attack story. By claiming humans attacked her, it fuels the fire for supes like Homelander and Dean Cypher, who view humans as pets and just want a full-blown war. Cypher wants to remind these students that they are outnumbered by the humans, and if they ever decide to have an uprising, they will be in trouble. Now, Cypher keeps Marie behind, pushing her to use her blood powers more effectively. He tells Marie he prefers her to be more like Angelina Jolie from Salt and not Angelina from Girl Interrupted. I probably would have used like Angelina and Lara Croft, or maybe her as Athena from The Eternals, but point taken. He tells her how magnificent she could be if she truly tapped into her powers. Now, we see Kate's watching this whole interaction from afar. Now, going back to Cypher talking to Marie about tapping into her full potential, which reminds me of the conversation that she had with Victoria in Season 1, which, speaking of Season 1, this kind of explains in the Season 1 finale when Homelander blasted her with his lasers, she took that like a champ and she was able to survive. Whatever Thomas Godolkin was cooking up in 1967, that might be their best chance to kill Homelander, and I'm referring to Marie, if she's able to really optimize her full potential. Now, checking in with Sam, he is unfortunately back to his old ways. Emma really taps into his insecurities about him facing what he did last season, as he's back to seeing things like seeing one of the students as a Muppet. Now, Justine, his new girlfriend, realizes she's not equipped to help and she breaks up with him. Now, Sam, however, could care less about this, as their relationship really just seemed to be about appearances and having followers online. Now, this sandwich begins talking to Sam and brings up his fight with Kimiko and how he followed Homelander's every command. As we descend further into the wacky rabbit hole of Sam's mind, ending in a puppet world where everything reminds him how terrible he is, as we see this sunny sun saying some crazy conspiracy theories. Now, by all accounts, I feel bad for Sam's mental health issues, but I gotta say, admittedly, it's always funny as hell when we see him talking to Muppets or being in a Muppet land, and I'm very curious to know if we'll see more of these Muppets as the season goes on. Now cut to our YA drama that continues as Marie confesses she was a virgin before hooking up with Jordan, which would explain her accidental I love you. Now Jordan is clearly dealing with commitment issues, but the chat is cut short as the new rankings drop, as we find out that Jordan is number 1. Now during this, Pam messages Marie back and agrees to meet with her. Now at Dean Cypher's house, Kate confronts him. She wants him to tell Vought the truth about Emma, Jordan, and Marie trying to kill her. Now, the Dean really isn't paying attention to her until she threatens to go to Vought herself, but we see Cypher manipulates her by bringing up Homelander's involvement and how disappointed he'll be, especially with her not having her powers and her powers being broken.
You're no better than a human.
Now thinking back to season 1, normally when she would meet with the previous Dean, who we remember manipulated her and Kate killed her, but she was normally used to having the Dean on her side, but not this time around, as Cypher yet again puts her in her place and reminds her that without her powers, she's useless as he sends her on her way. To me, Cypher belittling Kate will either work for him or against him and push her towards taking him down. We'll just have to see. Now the mystery surrounding Cypher continues to grow. We still don't know what his powers are. As we see Kate before she leaves, she sees like this secret vault door in his house. So far, all we know about him is that he's been seen in Elmira. As far as we know, he wasn't some high-ranking person in Vought before becoming the Dean. And later we find out that he's the doctor who delivered Marie, and also his lunches are random foods blended together. Maybe we'll learn that he was the person that perfected Thomas's first batch of that blue substance seen back in episode 1 that killed all those doctors. Now back on campus, we see Jordan sees the benefits and challenges of being the number 1 ranked God U student. As we know in this boys universe, with great power comes even greater PR headaches. Meanwhile, Emma sees Resist all over the walls near the food court, as Kate comes swooping in and says to Emma,
"What would you do if you had to see the person who tried to kill you and left you for dead every day?"
Now this conversation doesn't last that long, as Emma's got bigger fish to fry. Now, remembering the human we met at the beginning of the episode, she pops back up, venting to Emma about the sign that's making her work a living hell. Now Emma, being Emma, instantly wants to help. She's on the case, chasing down this super speedster who leads her into the boys' locker room. This mysterious soup creates a fireball and makes a clean escape. Now, going back to Kate, we see her personal struggles continue. We see her in her dorm with her fresh new stitches in her head, and we see her fake forearm that she lost in the finale of season 1. To me, I almost saw this as like a visual metaphor. Her bad decisions, her ugly alliance to Vought are visibly manifesting on the outside. As Sam comes banging on her door, desperate, begging for her to use her powers to silence the voices in his head, just like she used to do all the time. But as we know, she can't do that right now. Not after what we saw her do to those nurses and the doctor back in episode 2, as she's been told not to use her powers. Now Sam's upset and he leaves.
"You're right, okay? We've hurt people. I hurt Luke when I pushed him too much. And I can't do that to you anymore, okay? I'm sorry."
Honestly, Kate might have done him a favor, because who knows what her broken powers would have done to him with his mental state right now. Now, speaking of Sam, we see he's super upset. He's in full rage mode as he absolutely trashes his dorm room. Now, Jordan steps in and tries to calm him down, but it quickly escalates into a full-blown soup brawl, as they blast each other through a wall right into another student's room who, let's just say, is eating lunch in the most in-universe boys way. As the fight spills outside, but Jordan finally manages to stop Sam, not with their fists, but with an offer to help. Now Sam mentions how his brother Luke had the right idea by ending it all, but Jordan, with genuine care, reminds him that it wasn't the right idea and how much Luke would be against Sam hurting himself. Now, as I mentioned up top, liking a new pairing, this is the pairing I'm talking about. This was a solid emotional beat that really highlights the bond forming between these two powerhouses. Now, let's talk about Marie, who's finally getting some answers. Now, she arrives at Pam's front door, understandably nervous. As Pam, who claims that she hasn't heard from her baby sister, Annabeth, as Marie tries to make some small talk, but Pam just wants to get to the point. Marie shows her the picture from the Odessa file, and Pam confirms that it was taken at a facility clinic at Godolkin. Pam reveals that her parents struggled to conceive until Vought stepped in, covering all the expenses for Marie's birth, a miracle. But Pam emphasizes the real miracle was Annabeth, who their mother was able to conceive naturally. So that means Marie was an IVF baby at Vought Clinic, and she wasn't directly injected with Compound V as she always believed. Now, Pam shows Marie photos of the day her parents met baby Marie as she sees a former face, and that is the face of Cypher, who's holding Marie as a baby as Pam identifies him as Dr. Gold, the doctor who delivered Marie. As they look at more photos, Pam reflects on her parents just wanting to have a family and not have a super-powered kid for money. So is Cypher named Dr. Cypher Gold and he's a doctor? One would imagine that he's been experimenting on babies with this Odessa project, so we're starting to get more and more answers about who he really is. Now Marie steps into the bathroom, but as she leaves, she sees a bedroom filled with pictures of Annabeth throughout the years. Now Marie wants answers to why she lied all this time about not knowing where her little sister was, but Pam explains that after the devastating accident that killed her parents, Annabeth completely understandably was terrified of her big sister. She doesn't want to see her, and Pam kept that promise. Again, another really good emotional scene here as we see Marie pours her heart out, expressing how it felt to be seen as a monster and this guilt that she's carried ever since her parents died. To me, this was my favorite scene of this episode because I really felt the emotional weight. I can understand both sides of this conversation. I thought the performances were good in this conversation. And speaking to the sisters, right? Marie and Annabeth, I think eventually we're going to see them reunited. At least I hope to see that in the season. But again, this scene finally answered the big question about her little sister and gives Marie a much needed closure in a sense, because she knows her sister's out there, even though it's painful to know that she's out there and she still doesn't want to see her. Now back to Emma's investigation. She walks into Polarity's marketing class and immediately spots Harper with the same distinct yellow paint from the graffiti left. Now Emma confronts her, exposing her as a secret Starlight supporter who's been expertly faking her Homelander fandom. Now we also learn that Harper is a chameleon with her powers. That explains the speed, the fireball in the locker room, as she's able to mimic superheroes' abilities for a temporary time. Now, speaking to Harper's chameleon abilities, I 100% see that coming back into play at some point this season, where Harper's gonna take someone, I don't know, maybe as powerful as Homelander or someone else with some really cool suit powers. They're gonna probably be able to take their suit powers for a temporary spot, but the question is, will it be handy? That's the big question. Will Harper be able to take someone's power, it be useful, or will it hurt her in the process, potentially killing her? Now, Emma learns that Harper isn't alone. There's others quietly supporting Starlight, as she meets Harper's roommate, who's also a part of the Resistance. Emma, however, points out that their quiet acts aren't really changing anything, as Emma encourages them to believe in themselves as heroes just like Andre helped her. But I'll be honest, her advice to F shit up, to me, is a little aggressive, but hey, it's Godolkin. Now, I can see this coming back and not working in their favor. It'll be interesting to see what Harper's roommate's powers are, but more importantly, what I got away from this scene, again, y'all know I'm a big Emma fan, but I like seeing her go on her hero's journey and how she's kind of empowering other heroes to be heroes. Now, yet again, we get another unexpectedly sweet moment between Jordan and Sam, as we see them hanging out, smoking weed, and watching Vought Kids 7 cartoons, something Sam would watch with his brother back when they were younger. As we see, Sam opens up, sharing that he talks to Luke in his head, and it actually is comforting for him. We see Jordan and Sam connect over the idea of getting a chance to talk to Luke, talking to Andre again, and how much they missed him. So is Sam good, or is it just for now? Is he going down the path of trying to get redemption, trying to clear his sins, trying to be a better person, or is just all this a temporary fix? With that said, what happens to Jordan in this episode might not be in favor of Sam, because this is another example of someone that Sam likes being taken away from him. As we end this episode at the 60th anniversary of Thomas Godolphin Day. After a heartfelt conversation about losing their loved ones, we see Jordan amidst their love for Marie as they share a tender kiss. But this kiss might have a deeper meaning, because it might be their last kiss for a while. As this sentimental mood doesn't last long, because Jordan, now the #1 student, steps on stage for their big speech. Now at first, they are sticking to the VOD-approved script, but then Jordan goes completely off book. In a shocking but courageous move, Jordan tells the entire Godolphin University that Andre died at Elmira, but they don't stop there. Jordan reveals that Vought killed the innocent Starlighters who were blamed for Kate's attack, and Jordan admits that it was them that actually attacked Kate.
Thomas Godolphin was devoted to developing ever more powerful soups. If you listen to me, that could be you. The most powerful soup to ever come out of Godolphin. Hell, the most powerful that Vought has ever seen.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, Episode 4, and man, we got a lot to unpack. There's a lot of Cypher. This is a Cypher-centric episode as he forces Jordan and Marie into a fight to be ranked #1. Kate is tasked with taking him down, and in doing so, her and Jordan find a very unsettling discovery. We see him training Marie and trying to unlock her true power potential. And speaking of Cypher, the team unfortunately learns just how dangerous he truly is. Let's get into the ring and get some answers and break down this episode. Full spoilers ahead. So last we left off, Jordan dropped the truth bomb about Vought, calling him out about Andre's death and Kate's attack. And how does the public react? Well, if Firecracker's latest rant is anything to go by, it's all the woke plague at God you. According to her, of course. Now, speaking of spin, remember my prediction last week about Kate trying to get back in Cypher's good graces? Well, we see that here. As Kate makes a video doubling down on her story about Starlight's attack on her and it not being Jordan. Meanwhile, we see Jordan and Marie are calming their nerves outside of Cypher's office, ready for whatever storm he's about to unleash, as Marie promises Jordan that she's got their back no matter the consequences. As Kate walks out after getting yelled at, Marie and Jordan walk in and are introduced to Seth from marketing, the Vought employee we've seen throughout the Boys series, who is always prepared with a fresh and horrifying marketing idea. And he's got something interesting to show them. Seth shows them God U presents the Gender Bender versus the Blood Bender, a full-on fight between Jordan and Marie. Now, naturally, Marie and Jordan refuse this ridiculous idea, but Cypher, he makes it crystal clear they have no choice in the matter.
But I'm sure Jordan would issue some sort of statement.
You do not have a fucking choice!
And here's the thing, if they don't do it, Marie, Jordan, and Emma are immediately going to be sent back to Elmira. Now, adding insult to the literal injury, the fight will be real in front of everyone and Marie will win. Marie knows she can't physically beat Jordan, but Cypher promises she can, especially after their training appointment later that afternoon. Now, as they say, desperate times indeed call for desperate measures, and the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Now, after spilling the beans to Emma about their insane ultimatum, Marie suggests they reach out to Kate. Now, the idea is to get Kate to use her powers on Cypher to stop the fight, find out what he knows about Project Odessa, and finally figure out who he really is. As we watch Marie and Jordan at Kate's door, proposing the unthinkable, which is to put their differences aside and actually work together. Now, Kate admits that she hasn't been able to read Cypher's mind, but she suggests they dig up some dirt on him to force his hand. Now, her idea is to look into the mysterious locked door in his house. As the plan is set, use Marie's training time with Cypher to pull a full Tom Cruise Mission Impossible to see what secrets are behind that door. Meanwhile, we see Emma's new friendships are developing. We see her with Harper and her roommate Allie, filling them in on the insane stage battle royale that's taking place later that evening. Now, Emma's ready for action and she's ready to sabotage things. Now, it's within this conversation we finally learn Allie's powers. She can manipulate her hair like Medusa, but not the hair on her head, it's somewhere else, which we see later in this episode. Now, joining this trio is Allie's brother, who has flight capabilities, who Emma briefly flirted with in a social media class, which to me is definitely being set up to have some type of romantic development between the two characters. Now, outside Cypher's house, Jordan watches Vought's new deepfake promo for the upcoming fight. Now, as we watch Jordan and Kate attempt to be on the same page despite their recent history, they share a moment where they recall their friendship before everything went to hell. Now, with that aside, it is time for the break-in. We see Kate trying to use her powers, remembering that they're broken. She tells the security guard to give them his key and forget that he saw them. And it almost works. But again, with Kate's powers on the fritz, we watch as the guard pulls his pants down and goes full tech knight, putting a part of his body inside of a garden gnome. Now, despite the mishap, they get the key and open the mysterious door. Now, inside this door, they find music playing and a person with full body burns hooked into a life support system within a chamber. Now, before the mysterious person wakes, they grab a quick photo and they head out. Now, I think it's safe to assume this mysterious person is no other than Thomas Godolkin himself. We may be looking at a Stormfront situation here where we remember Homelander kept her alive for a little bit in season 3 in The Boys. Now, we'll later discover the relationship between Cypher and this person, but there's still a lot to unpack. If this is indeed Thomas Godolkin, have they been in this position since the incident in 1967? Now, speaking of Cypher, back at Marie's private training lesson, we see Cypher's first test is to have her move bags of blood without bursting them. Now, Marie struggles, but Cypher insists she continues, pushing her to focus on every single cell of blood. Now, after this pep talk, Marie finally gets it, moving all the blood bags without a single burst. Now, of course, we've seen Victoria Powers in action, and even she knew that Marie was special. Now, with the revelation that Marie is Project Odessa, we may be looking at the most powerful soup ever who could possibly stand a chance against Homelander. Now, the next lesson is to move a goat by the name of Eli Muss without killing it. Now, Marie understandably has her doubts, and this is where Cypher drops a bomb on her. He explains that Marie is the reason the school exists. Thomas Godolkin was devoted to creating the most powerful soup, and Marie could be just that. Again, even more powerful than Homelander. Now, of course, no pressure in lifting this goat, as we see Marie's distracted as she looks at Cypher's blood and she realizes he doesn't have compound V in his system. He's not a soup. And shocked by this, Marie accidentally kills Eli Muss, and they move on to another test subject by the name of Julia Fox. Now, we'll be discussing a little bit later on why it seems that Cypher has it out for Homelander, but again, we'll save that to later in this breakdown. Now, speaking of training, since Harper temporarily used Emma's powers last episode with ease, Emma asks her for help in harnessing her powers without her old methods. Now, Emma struggles, but Harper hits her with a dose of inspiration. Emma hasn't just inspired Allie to share her powers, which she doesn't do, but she also has inspired Harper. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Emma, and I've enjoyed this season handling of the character so far. Watching the deconstruction and rebuilding of her confidence from someone who used her mother's belittling her and used her eating disorder to tap into her powers to now not having to do any of that has been a really great arc so far to me. I definitely see her having like some full-blown hero moment at some point later in this season. And as an Emma fan, I'm excited to see that hopefully happen. Now, back from their mission and individual trainings, we have Jordan, Caden, Emma, and Marie together in their dorm as they show Marie the mysterious guy in the chamber. Now, Marie tells them that Cypher isn't a soup, that he's a human. But before they can even process that, Kate's phone goes off. It's Cypher, and he wants her to meet after finding her on the camera visiting his house. Now, Marie sees this as an opportunity, as the new plan is to get Kate to get the information out of him with the help of Emma attempting to use her powers in the new way, with Allie and Harper tagging along as well, all while the fight between Jordan and Marie is happening. At God U, Unsafe Spaces, televised on VSN3 VOD Sports Network, the fight between the Benders is on. Now, meanwhile, Emma's little gang of Harper, Allie's brother, and Allie, who's now known as Bushmaster, are all set to get their parts of this mission started. Now, backstage, after hearing the crowd screaming how much they hate Jordan, they share how being hated was a nightmare of theirs when they were growing up, and now it's turned into a reality. Now, Marie takes this chance to remind Jordan that none of this is actually real and that they love each other as they head into the ring. Now, as we watch Jordan and Marie make their way into the ring, Kate confronts Cypher. She starts off pretty strong in this conversation, revealing that she has her powers back, as Cypher takes this opportunity to tell her that the man in the chamber is actually his father. Now, before he can go into any details, Cypher heads into the bathroom. And here's where Mini Emma comes into play. Now, little Mini Emma is flushed into the toilet, and yes, she sees balls and all, has full dedication to this mission as she gets her camera perfectly placed to capture the rest of this conversation. Now, as the fight starts, we see Kate thinking that she's in full control in this conversation and doubles down. She tells Cypher she knows that he's not a soup and he's a human.
I know what you are. Or more importantly, are not.
Meanwhile, in the ring, Marie and Jordan don't fight, but they actually share a passionate kiss. Now, suddenly, everything changes. The games are over. Cypher, with a smirk on his face, knew that he was being recorded the whole time. Him knowing this might be an early indication of some of the powers that we'll find out here in a second. Now, he reveals that Marie's intel wasn't correct at all. He actually does have powers. Back in the ring, Jordan shifts. Their body language change, and then, without warning, Jordan punches Marie. Now, Cypher, who again is allegedly a human, has the terrifying ability to control people and puppet them. Jordan, completely under Cypher's control, takes full command of the fight. Now, Marie, she's stunned. She doesn't know what the hell to do, and she lifts Jordan in the air off of her, and again, remembering the last time she did this with the goat. As Jordan is about to explode, just like that goat that we saw earlier in the training, but Cypher either loses control or decides that his point has been made. As Jordan is back to their senses and Marie gently puts them down. And the fight is over and everything we thought we knew was wrong. Cypher is a soup, but isn't the soup that we have known soups to be because it doesn't appear he has Compound V in his system.
I'm not going to be your weapon.
My what? My weapon? Marie. I don't want you to be a weapon.
You are salvation. My life, your life, all our lives will be better once you have ascended to your full potential. Can I get an amen?
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, Episode 5. In this episode, we see Kate is back at Elmira. Sam goes home hoping to reconnect with his parents, and in doing so, he discovers the truth about his mental breaks. We learn that Sister Sage and Cypher are together and have plans for Homelander, and Marie can bring back the dead. We got a lot to discuss, so let's break down this episode. Full spoilers ahead. We open with a flashback from a month ago, and right away, we get a sneak peek behind the curtain of Cypher's life as he begins his day picking flowers. Now inside, we see he either has OCD or he was raised to have everything perfect, as we see him making sure the flowers are leveled perfectly. Then we see inside his fridge. Everything is perfectly sterilized and stacked almost entirely with liquids. Now if you all have been paying attention, it's interesting to see that the only thing we've seen Cypher eat so far are only things that are liquid-based foods. We watch as he goes inside a secret vault room where he takes out our mystery burnt victim, who he calls his father, who again I believe is Thomas Godolkin, out of his chamber. As we watch, he takes a sniff of the flower, and we see what seems to be a daily morning routine. Now this routine includes Cypher feeding him applesauce, changing his diapers, and cleaning him, and also moisturizing his entire body. And then we get this moment here that definitely caught me by surprise, and that is Sister Sage walks in. In here we thought the weird things her and Deep got into with him giving her a lobotomy was weird. We watch as she slaps Cypher multiple times just to get in the mood, I guess, as she pulls his pants down and they have sex. Mind you, all this is happening while his father watches and Sage and him look each other right in the eyes. Now, this is where you all's theories that I've seen in the comments last week about Cypher's powers come into play, and I think you all might be onto something. Now, going back to that scene where we see Cypher and Sage are again engaging in sexual activities, Sage looks directly at his father. Sage covers Cypher's eyes, and the father seems to physically take pleasure in what's happening. Now, I could be reading the scene wrong, but connecting this back to Cypher's mind control abilities from last week, have Cypher and his father figured out a way to mind control or even swap bodies? Is Cypher just a vessel for his father? Keep that theory locked in because there's more evidence a little bit later. Now, back in present day, moments after Marie's victory over Jordan, we see the media is swarming her with questions.
We got you's new #1.
It feels... Jordan clearly had a biological advantage until he switched to female. Do you agree trans athletes should be banned from competition?
I have to go. Marie, will there be a rematch?
Marie, just a few more questions.
Meanwhile, in the locker room, Jordan is pissed. They describe the fight, emphasizing the intrusive control feeling they had when Cypher was manipulating them. Again, the way Jordan's describing this feeling of being manipulated or being puppeted or controlled by Cypher, it sounds a lot like the body transfer idea in the mind and the switching of the body that he might have going on with his father. Now, speaking of Cypher, he walks into the locker room completely unfazed by the chaos he's caused. He wants to know how it felt for Marie to truly level up. He tells her that this is just the tip of the iceberg, urging her to continue her training. Now, Marie, understandably, wants nothing to do with him and any more of his training. As we watch, Jordan tries to step in, but Cypher quickly silences them, telling them how weak they are, explicitly planting the seed of powerlessness in Jordan's already fragile mind. Now, Marie is now faced with a choice. She either has to rejoin Cypher for more training, or else they'll be joining Kate and Elmira. Speaking of which, Kate has been delivered to Elmira, used as a brutal example to what happens when you test Cypher. Now we watch as she goes through the booking process, and honestly, even though she's made some villainous decisions in this show, I really felt terrible for her in this scene. She's put in an extremely vulnerable position. As we see, she gets a full body cavity search. They have her remove her wig and also take off her prosthetic arm. Again, as I talked about in the past, I do feel bad for Kate. We have to remember, she's been taken advantage of ever since she met the previous dean, and I just have a feeling that deep down she means well, and we know from last week's episode she tried to help in the failed mission, and unfortunately that ended her here in Elmira. Now we watch as Kate tries to use her powers against one of the guards, but it doesn't work as they put on a collar on her neck that prevents her from using her powers as she gets put into her cell. Now, after missing all of last episode, Sam is back as he visits home to see his parents. Now, there's a bit of an odd reunion between Sam and his parents, which is understandable considering that this is the first time they've seen him in years after being told he was dead. But it appears his parents, or at least his father, is happy to see him as his dad gives him a hug. Now we watch as Sam tries to recreate a childhood moment watching his favorite cartoon with his dad while eating Deep's branded cereal. Now his mom joins them and she puts on a fake smile as this is an indicator that things aren't the same. Now we'll be discussing more of this family dynamic here in a bit, but back on campus, Marie, Jordan, and Emma are drowning their sorrows. Now while Jordan and Emma are ready to write Kate off, Marie feels immense guilt. She relates Kate's situation to her own dark time in Elmira where she wanted to end her life. Marie is ready to test her new amplified powers by doing something good, and that's breaking Kate out. Now initially, Jordan and Emma refuse to help Kate out, but Marie reminds them that if something happens to her, it will be on their conscience. As they quickly formulate a risky game plan using a similar strategy to how Marie escaped months ago. Now, if they're gonna pull this off, they're going to need someone who's super strong to help break through the metal barrier that unfortunately killed Andre. And that person is Sam, as we watch Emma gives him a call for help. Now, he considers it for a moment, but ultimately he says no. He's realized that Kate was and remains a terrible person to him, and remember, she drove his brother to do what he did back in season 1. As Sam feels like she deserves to be where she is in Elmira. Now Emma tries to guilt him, saying that her death will be on their conscience, but Sam sticks firm to his decision. And honestly, after everything Kate did to him, I can't blame him. Now before taking off to Elmira, we see Marie tells Jordan and Emma that she can feel her powers getting stronger.
When he was attacking me, I felt like I could have destroyed the whole arena.
Now before they leave, we see Greg catches up with Emma and offers his help, but Emma turns him down and doesn't want him to get involved for his own safety. Now, here's my immediate question for you all. Is it me or is Greg just maybe too nice? I'm starting to get a strong feeling that he's working with Cypher, keeping him in the loop. Think about last episode. How did Cypher know that they were recording him? And now Mr. Nice Guy who can fly is right in the middle of their secret plan, and we see how that turns out in this episode. I don't know, man, it might just be me, but I do not trust Mr. Nice Guy Greg. What about you all? Let me know your thoughts on Greg. Is he a traitor? Is he a good guy? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Now, in the Dean's office, Polarity and him have lunch together. Again, taking notice of Cypher's meal. It's a smoothie. Remember in episode 1, he made one just like this as well. I'm thinking about that applesauce that he fed his dad at the beginning of this episode. Again, that was only a liquid. Now, it's here Polarity tries to get more information about Cypher and if he had any particular training skills to get the most out of Soups. Now, Cypher plays along, very well knowing that he's prying for information as he tells him that it took years and years of research and that Marie's full potential will actually change the world. Now, Cypher wants Polarity to cut through the BS and really ask him what's on his mind, which is what really happened to his son Andre.
Your boy's death was the result of an experiment. I tried to push him to his full potential, and unfortunately, his little body wouldn't allow it.
Now, Polarity uses his powers, which we know he's not supposed to, as he puts a knife to Cypher's neck, and we watch as Cypher takes that knife and sticks it in his own hand and looks at Polarity and tells him that he's way over his head. Now, a couple things I want to point out in this scene. Pushing and irritating Soups to becoming angry seems to be another superpower that Cypher possesses. As we see, he's doing that exactly to Polarity in this scene. Now, second, I believe this interaction triggers what we see later in this episode with Polarity having another uncontrollable moment with his powers at his home. And again, it's most likely due to him recently using his powers in this episode, but also back in episode 2. Now, back with Sam, we get a better understanding on how his parents felt this whole time while he was gone. Vought convinced them that Sam was dead. They had a funeral and his mom didn't speak for over a year. Think about that level of sustained grief and them realizing that it was all a lie. When they finally saw him on TV after the Goddamn massacre, Vought just dismissed it and said it was a system error. Oh, and they told their parents that Sam didn't want to see them either. Now, Sam's dad apologizes for all the lost time, but this tender moment is unfortunately short-lived. Sam notices his mom outside, and Sam, we know to be paranoid, sees her on the phone and immediately spirals. Now, Sam thinks that she's calling Vought, but in reality, she was just ordering a pizza, but Sam shatters her phone, calling her a puppet, sinking back into his dangerous spiral. As Sam lashes out, blaming his parents for the compound V that destroyed his mind, as he accidentally decks his dad in the chest, nearly killing him. Now, later that evening, Sam's mom finds him at the park and wants to talk to him and delivers the truth. They gave him V to try to protect him. His mental condition, the mental breaks, was something that he was born with, just like his Uncle Rick. And the V didn't really help the problem, it just amplified it. Now we see Sam doesn't snap after learning this news, but instead he actually listens. This is massive progress. First with Jordan in episode 3 and now here. We're continuing to see Sam tap into his more emotional maturity and learning about acceptance and learning to accept his flaws more and to find a way to manage them better. This scene and the scene he had with his dad early in his bedroom were really great scenes to me. Like, I felt the emotions, and despite his condition, his parents still love him. As the road to redemption between him and Kate continues, now we don't see Sam for the rest of the episode, but my guess is that after speaking with his mom and speaking with Emma earlier, I bet him changing his mind is going to come into play and he'll end up helping breaking the crew out of Elmira. Now, speaking of Elmira, our trio of Marie, Jordan, and Emma arrive. Now, they try to enter into the old rooftop vent escape route. That vent is now filled with cement, and they are hit with a concussion bomb and captured, as they go back in their cells within seconds. Again, I am in the camp that Greg tipped off Cypher, and they knew that they were coming. Now, Kate sees Emma and can't believe they actually tried to rescue her, and she thanks her, but no thanks are wanted from Emma because she thinks they're all about to die. Meanwhile, Cypher is watching them on the monitor, but he's not alone. In comes the new CEO of Vought, Sister Sage. Now, for my boys fans out there, we get a little Easter egg and a little update on our character, as Sister Sage mentions that Ashley was no longer fit to be CEO because of the state that she's in. Going back to what happened in the last season of The Boys, remember Ashley took Compound V in a panic. So I guess we'll have to find out what her powers are when we see her in the next season of The Boys. Now we see Cypher is actually happy that they returned to Elmira because these conditions only help with his experiments to push them to their limits, as Sage believes that he needs new methods and has a surprise for him that's coming soon. Now Sage mentions that the time is running out for Cypher and his experiments with Marie, and how Homelander won't be happy to learn about how he's been training her to make her more powerful than he is. So it sounds like to me that Sister Sage, who is now the CEO of VOD, and we know how Cypher is and the power he has, it seems like they're working together to take down Homelander and to have everything they want. Which now has me thinking, like, how long have they been planning this? Like, was this in play before Homelander went to go get Sister Sage and before they were scouting her? Is this some new relationship? And is the mission to truly take down Homelander and to roll everything with them together? Now, back in their cells, Emma and Kate have another moment of truth as Emma's hopeless and doesn't believe anyone will come to save them while they're down here. Now, Kate isn't ready to give up as she takes one of the stitches out of her head and she begins to try to disable her collar. Now, Cypher goes to Marie's cell and wants her to continue her training, and if she cooperates, there's a good chance that they'll make it out of here. Cypher doesn't want to use her as a weapon, but instead as a savior for all soups. Now Jordan hears this and is just tired of hearing all of Cypher's BS. And they get his attention by saying that when he took over their body, they felt weakness when he was inside of them. Jordan says that they felt his pain and that pain is always there. This, to me, again, is another indicator that his father is using his body, because I would imagine as a burn victim, they're always in pain. Now we watch more of Cypher's mind games as he takes Marie to see something as the experiment continues. First, we watch as Cypher takes Marie to see where Andre died to really fuel her anger. But then we see the surprise that Sage promised has arrived. Cypher opens the cell, and inside is Marie's sister, Annabeth, who she hasn't seen since accidentally killing their parents. Cypher, the master manipulator, says that they can both leave if Marie cooperates. As we see, Marie runs at him in rage but gets shocked, and she's dragged back to her cell, and she vows that once she reaches her full potential, she's gonna kill Cypher. And after seeing what she did at the end of this episode, I think she's telling the truth. Now we end this episode back in Kate's cell where we see a guard checking on her because she's unresponsive. We see that her collar isn't active, and as he approaches her, she touches him, demanding to unlock her and to give her the key. Now unfortunately, as we know, her powers can't be trusted as the guard stabs himself in the eye with the key that she needs. Now we watch as Kate gets the key, she frees herself, she frees Emma and removes their collars, and she goes after Marie and Jordan. Now they let them out, but Jordan takes notice of how easy they've managed to make it out and believes this is all a part of Cypher's game to really push them. Now they go after Annabeth, and as they open her cell, they find her with her throat cut and she's dead. As the others try to get Marie to leave with them, she doesn't move and begins using her powers like never before. Now, I felt like she was manipulating the blood in everyone in that room, and in doing so, it looked like she was almost killing her friends. To me, this goes back to her mentioning earlier how she felt that she can destroy everyone in that arena. But it's here we see what Cypher was talking about her being a savior, as she manages to use her abilities to close the cut on her sister's throat, and she literally brings her sister back to life. Yes, that is right, Marie has the ability to bring him back to dead.
When the pills stop working and the treatments, you need a miracle. I have one. Marie.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, Episode 6. In this episode, we see the team manages to escape Elmira as Marie learns a shocking secret about her sister. Now, in the meantime, Cypher is desperate to find Marie, using everything in his power to find her. And while on the run, an unexpected ally leads the group to safety. And we finally learn the identity of the mystery man that Cypher has had hidden away. We got a lot to break down this episode, so with all that being said, full spoilers ahead. We pick up the second Marie brings Annabeth back. Now Marie reaches out to her younger sister's hand trying to help her up, and you could see for a split second her memory hit. The last time she saw her older sister covered in blood, it was because Marie's powers had taken a life. But this time around, she saved one. As she takes her hand and they leave her cell. Now we see the escape as absolute chaos as Jordan's on the attack, and as they take out the guards, who you'll notice is using some familiar gear. They're using the same frequency sounds that prove to have an effect on Supes. We saw similar devices being used during the finale of season 1 of Gen V, and later in this episode we discover its origins. Now as they run through the halls, Annabeth stops. In the middle of all the noise and running, she senses something, and it's a secret door, and it's a better path. Now this being the breadcrumbs being laid to the secret that Annabeth has kept. Now they hit a dead end, but just as I predicted in my last breakdown, Sam comes bursting through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and rescues them. As we watch them escape Elmira together this time with no one being left behind. They make it to the van and we can tell the tensions are super high. We see Annabeth is rightfully absolutely traumatized. I mean, think about it. She was kidnapped, she was put in this suit prison, and then literally died and was brought back to life by the last person she ever expected to see again. Now we watch as Emma breaks the silence and points out the elephant in the room, and that's Marie performing a miracle. Now if you notice, the moment Emma says the word miracle, the camera panned over to Kate, setting up exactly what we see from Kate later in this episode. So the question is, how did Marie do it? How did she bring her little sister back to life?
I just listened to what Cypher said. Connect with every cell like it was a part of my own body, and I just fixed it.
Like it or not, Cypher was right. And now Marie is operating on a whole new level of power. Now obviously the group needs to disappear, and Canada's brought up, which sends Annabeth in a panic. She doesn't know these people, she just returned from the dead. The trauma is real, and the crew agrees they need to stop for Annabeth and switch vehicles. Now it's time to check in with our absolutely brilliant villain of this season as we cut to Cypher performing stretches on our current mystery burnt character. Now, when Cypher learns of the escape, he puts out the orders to find Marie and Marie only, and the rest do not matter to him. But here's the new wrinkle to Cypher's character and this father and son relationship. Now, Cypher immediately takes out his anger on his quote-unquote father, slapping him multiple times in the face before commonly returning to the stretching routine as if slapping a disabled man was just a minor inconvenience. Now later in this episode, we learn more of the actual relationship between these two and how important our mystery character is in the war between Supes and humans. Now back with the crew, they're hidden out in an abandoned library. Jordan is still in a state of shock and confusion from Marie's abilities, recognizing that this new power level immediately makes Marie one of the most powerful Supes in the world, and this changes everything. But Marie assures Jordan that their love and their relationship will remain the same. But the ending of this episode suggests differently. Meanwhile, we see throughout this episode that Sam is trying to get into the goodwill of Emma again, as we see Sam and Emma are focused on connectivity. Sam finds some food and Emma finds a workable computer. They manage to find a phone, but in one of the more lighter moments of this very dark episode, Emma admits to not knowing anyone's phone off of her memory. Honestly though, in the world we live in, who actually remembers any one number off the top of their head? Now her next move is to DM Harper and Allie via Instagram. That's honestly the best and fastest way to get someone's response nowadays because nobody calls each other anymore. One of the things I really appreciated about this episode, and honestly the season so far, is how the show continues to remind us that while yes, they're extremely powerful Supes, they're still teenagers who are trying to figure out life in college and having powers and trying not to die. Now Annabeth tells Marie that she has no idea when she was injected with Compound V. Her having powers was a secret she kept from everyone, including Pam. Now I do wonder if there's more to Annabeth's story about her getting Compound V and if we'll actually learn when she was injected with it. Now Annabeth doesn't have full control over how or when her powers decide to work. And speaking of her powers give her the ability to have visions of the future. Now we don't know the full extent of her powers, and we also don't know like how far into the future she can actually see, but I have a feeling that her powers will be growing pretty quickly. Now Annabeth wants to go back to her normal life and go back to check on Pam, but her older sister gives her a reality check and letting her know that she'll risk getting caught again in doing so. Now, despite hating the fact that she's been thrown into this shitty situation and having her little sister hate her, Marie tells Annabeth that she spent the last 10 years looking for her and that she's the only family that she has left and all she wants to do is to keep her safe. But unfortunately, her sister has spent the last 10 years with built up resentment towards Marie, and she tells her older sister that everything and anything bad that's ever happened to her is because of Marie. Damn, that was cold. You know, I'll be honest, I'm really enjoying this dynamic so far between two sisters because obviously you can understand both sides. Now, as an audience, we've spent more time with Marie, but at the same time, I can understand where Annabeth is coming from. Like, that has to be such a traumatic situation to be in, to have your sister, who you love and who you look up to, but the fact that she killed your parents, that has to do something to you. So again, I'm loving the dynamic, I'm loving the writing, and I'm really excited to learn more and explore more of this sisterhood. Now, we follow up with Polarity after suffering that seizure last episode as he surprisingly wakes up in his bed and he sees Cypher next to it. Now, Cypher wants Polarity to deliver a message to Marie, and that's for her to return to the campus to continue their training, and if she does so, everyone will be safe, including her sister. Now, Polarity knows that Cypher can't be trusted, so he refuses. Now, we watch as Cypher continues to poke the bear by bringing up Andre again, and he mentions how he had multiple seizures and that Cypher claims that he tried to fix Andre but wasn't able to. Cypher says that he's found a way to fix things like what happened with Andre, and that's in Marie, the miracle. Now, Polarity's phone goes off, and it's Harper calling to let him know about the situation with the crew, as we watch Cypher puppets Polarity and gets the crew's location. Now, back with the crew, Marie uses their old childhood routine to help Annabeth through a panic attack. Now, Annabeth thanks her sister, but she also realizes the life Pam gave her is gone forever. Now, just as Marie promises to fix things, Annabeth senses danger. As a hammer comes crashing in, it's Vicor, the Vought Viking, crashing the party. Now, I want to go back for a second because I find it interesting that Annabeth said that she really can't control her powers, and they don't work a lot of the times, but since she's been resurrected, they've come in handy twice in this episode already. It makes me wonder if Marie can actually amplify Soup's powers and their abilities as well, really being the definition of a fixer of all things. Now, back to the big action set piece of this episode, we see Sam and Jordan engage in this fight, but they are unequipped to go against this Viking. Now, just as Vicor corners Marie, we get the return of a character we haven't seen since the last episode of the previous season of The Boys, and that is Zoe Newman, who we know as Victoria Newman's daughter. Now, we watch as Vicor, not knowing who or what she is, and believes he can take on anyone. He gets in her face, and let me tell you, that was a bad call. As Zoe unleashes her 4 tentacles with the razor-sharp teeth edges and absolutes destroys his face, separating his head from his shoulders and obviously killing him. And that's not the only surprise, as Zoe is with her grandfather, Stan Egger, who we last saw on the run of The Boys in their previous season as well. Now, Stan found them using the tracking chip Vought puts in all of its hired muscle. Now, of course, Stan is here for Marie, and Marie demands the whole crew gets safe passage. Now, Stan agrees, and he takes them to his top secret soup-proof bunker built for the Homelander Doomsday scenario. Now, going back to the return of Stan Egger, who I'm a big fan of, Giancarlo Esposito is a great actor, and I really love him in this role. So, Stan searching for Marie just makes total sense for me, considering the character and what the character likes to do, and that's taking advantage of opportunities and being 10 steps ahead of everyone. Plus, him looking for her makes a lot of sense, considering Victoria and Marie basically had a similar skill set, and he trained Victoria to be what she was. So I love this kind of tie-in, and this just speaks to how this show handles crossovers and tie-ins. They're not just glorified cameos. It actually makes sense within the narrative of the story. Now, in the bunker, it is time for truths and answers over cooked dinner made by Stan himself. Now, he tells the crew the original idea behind Project Odessa was conceived by Thomas Godolkin, and it was to create these god-tier soups. Think Omega Mutants in the X-Men universe. Stan tells them that Cypher took what Thomas Godolkin started and ultimately failed at, which we saw back in episode 1 of this season, and Cypher found a way to make it work, and the only 2 survivors of Project Odessa were Marie and Homelander. Now, with that reveal, I guess I have a question, and that being, Stan said that Marie didn't show signs of having powers when she was in the program, but if Marie survived Odessa, why would they let her go and live with her parents? You would think Cypher would have kept Marie to test on her to see how she survived this program, and would have waited however long it took to see if her powers ever came to fruition. Now, despite surviving Odessa, Stan knows that Homeland and Marie are completely different animals in so many different ways. Stan knows that Thomas Godolkin wanted to control the soups, while as Cypher plans to create this soup supremacy. It's here we finally get the confirmation that the mystery burnt man is indeed Thomas Godolkin, as I predicted, having survived the fire in the 60s and not Cypher's actual father. Now we find out that Cypher didn't recreate or perfect Godolkin's Project Odessa, but instead he kept him prisoner and forced him to make Odessa what it became to be. That's why he kept him alive all this time. Now, Stan's plans have changed from providing Marie with safety and comfort in exchange for protection once he reclaims control of Vought, which he does say he will get control over Vought again, but now that Godolkin is alive, he may be the only person alive who knows how to fully control soups. And to narrow it down even more, Godolkin can stop Cypher, but also potentially stop Homelander. Now, after finding out what Cypher wants, Stan shows Marie Godolkin's old files showing his work on high-frequency whistle device and other equipment that can subdue soups. Again, we saw some of those ideas in action in this show, including at the start of this very episode. But I guess the real question is there a massive version of this device somewhere, and it's something that can take down soups on a global scale? Now, taking a break from Marie, Cypher, and Godolkin stuff into some much needed character healing. Now, Sam owns his mistakes and he apologizes to Emma and expresses that he hopes that they can start over someday. Honestly, I hope that they can start over, and I hope at the very least they can at least be friends again, because as you all know, I do not trust Greg. Now, follow that up with a brilliant connection as we see Annabeth bonds with Zoe, and the reason I say brilliant connection is because these are two characters who understand the pain of having their parents taken away from them. Annabeth shares a touching memory of Marie being a big sister to her during Halloween. It's subtle, but it shows that the decade worth of resentment is finally cracking. This scene and earlier when Marie helped her sister with her panic attack is showing that she's slowly starting to trust her sister again, and the one accidental incident that Marie had does not define her. Now, as we come to the end of this episode, we see Jordan and Marie share a moment in peace, promising they'll figure things out together. Now, back with Cypher and Polarity, Cypher, frustrated by his plan that failed, he makes Polarity slap himself. Now, Cypher shares with Polarity his plans on how he wants to reduce the herd of soups across the world, and he wants to start this at God U by eliminating 75% of the student body to find the strongest soups. Only the strong will survive. Now, yet again, we see Cypher brings up Andre, and he's about to make Polarity slap himself again, but we see Polarity stops him. With a surge of sheer willpower, Polarity throws the invincible Cypher out of the window. Polarity is shocked by this, but when he looks down, Cypher has vanished in a Michael Myers style. Now knowing what Cypher has up his sleeve, Polarity is now fully aware of the danger and the war is coming. Now, despite seeing what happened last time she left her friends back at Elmira, our last scene shows Marie leaving yet again. Now, I don't think Marie leaving is because she's afraid or she's lost, but maybe she just has accepted the fact that she's who Cypher wants and doesn't want to put her friends, but more importantly, doesn't want to put her sister through any more stress or suffering, and she knows she is the best way to assure their safety, but also she wants to kill Cypher, and in killing him, that will protect them all. Now, as Marie's leaving, we see that Kate's following her and she wants her to heal her. Remember, Emma called Marie a miracle and Cypher called her a fixer. Now, Kate believes Marie can heal her, and if she fixes her, she'll be able to help keep Cypher out of her head when making her next move when coming face to face with him again. As we see, Marie walks away and Kate trails behind her, as the rest of the crew is left behind yet again. Now, will someone like Jordan and Emma feel like Marie abandoned them again, or will they accept that she is taking on the role of a protector? Either way, Marie just walked into the center of a storm, and she's bringing the one person who knows how to break minds with her.
We want gods to walk this earth, not circus freaks. Okay. Who's next?
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, Episode 7, the penultimate episode. In this episode, we see the team go searching for Marie after Annabeth has a terrifying nightmare. Meanwhile, Marie and Kate set out to find Godolkin and take down Cypher, but in doing so, they find themselves bringing back the real monster. And we finally meet Doug. We got a lot to discuss, so let's break down this episode. Full spoilers ahead. We open this episode with Annabeth having a vision about her sister Marie, who finds herself laying in a pool of blood and appears to be dead. As we see, Annabeth calls for her sister and hopes to stop this nightmare from coming true. Annabeth wakes up Jordan and tells them the vision she had, as everyone else is up now and they realize that not only is Marie missing but also Kate. We see Jordan freaking out about the fact that Marie has left them alone yet again. As Jordan has Zoe wake Stan, as Jordan believes they know where Marie and Kate are going. Now, either Stan really loves his beauty rest and said that he'll join them later in finding Marie and just was willing to give him his car, or we'll see Stan pop up in the season finale. I say all that to say that I was surprised to see Stan not joining them in the hunt for Marie, especially with the knowledge that he knows that she knows about Godolkin. Now, speaking to the vision that Annabeth had, not to jump too far ahead, but we don't see her vision come true in this episode, so my question is, will that nightmare come to fruition in the finale, or is it setting up something in The Boys Season 5, or even beyond that, because we don't know how far into the future Annabeth's visions are. Now, we find Marie and Kate are parked in a garage near Cypher's house in hopes to avoid being seen. Now, Kate assumes that the security has tightened up since the last time she's been here, and if they're gonna make it through this, Kate needs her powers. As she tries to get Marie to heal her, despite not being able to do that back when she cracked her skull. Marie's hesitant, and honestly, who can blame her? Kate's past actions with her powers have been a huge issue, but Kate insists she's changed and that she's broken in a way that makes her trustworthy now. Now, Kate promises she's different and she somehow will prove it to Marie when the time is right, but as of right now, Marie refuses to heal her. Now, back with the others, Annabeth and Jordan are having a heart-to-heart in the car. In this moment, we learn a little bit about how long Annabeth has known that she's a soup. As it turns out, she's known about her powers since she was a kid, as it all began when she was having this consistent nightmare until one day that nightmare came true. And later in this episode, we will find out what that nightmare was. Now, with a new set of clothes, we find Marie and Kate have arrived to Cypher's house, but there is no guards and the front door and the vault is left wide open. Inside, Cypher and Godolkin are nowhere to be found, but Polarity is there, as he fills them in on Cypher's twisted plan on eliminating every weak soup. Now, they find Polarity isn't in his full strength after his last run-in with Cypher, but he's discovered that he can resist Cypher's control. Now, Marie and Kate fill Polarity in on what they learned from Stan and that Godolkin might be the key to not only stopping Cypher, but also Homelander. Now, Polarity isn't too thrilled about this plan because he wants to take on Cypher by himself. But he admits that in his current state, he doesn't stand a chance, as he brings up his son Andre, which is a triggering point to another violent seizure. But then Marie steps in. She grabs Polarity's hand and performs another miracle. His tremors are now gone, and he's feeling stronger, ready to take on Cypher. Now, speaking of Cypher, we find him and Godolkin are lurking underground. Cypher is baffled by how Polarity managed to resist him. He's clearly frustrated, and when things don't go his way, well, we see him do something familiar, which is a disturbing pattern, as he takes off his belt and he abuses Godolkin yet again. Now, just as Cypher seems ready to end Godolkin's life, we see his phone buzzes. It's an alert showing Marie is inside his house, and we see that Cypher is happy. It's like Sister Sage predicted that she would return. As Cypher looks at Godolkin and says it's time for a big sacrifice, as he's gearing up for something, and it involves exposing his true self later. Now we cut to Sam and Emma, who are now back at the campus. As Emma resizes herself, Rufus and one of the Pleasures want Sam to continue his duties as we watch another student named Hempel is pushed out of the other person's ass. This felt like a scene from the Human Centipede and also reminded me of the scene from last season of The Boys, as Hempel is now owned by Sam, basically his pet. Now we see Greg's overjoyed to see Emma's alive and he's ready to help. He's a little weary of Sam, but Emma vouches for Sam as Greg goes to use his flight to search for Marie, all while Emma and Sam go their separate ways to find her as well. Now, feeling rejuvenated, Polarity, Kate, and Marie burst into Cypher's office. Their search for him is stalled, and Marie is still refusing to heal Kate. She passionately reminds Kate and Polarity of all the harm Kate has caused, especially in the role of Andre's death. Now, Polarity steps in, stopping Marie from blaming Kate for Andre. He takes full responsibility, but Marie just can't bring herself to let Kate get her powers back. Now, just as they're trying to figure out their next move, Cypher calls his office phone. He offers her to return to her training, and the offer stands that he won't harm anyone else. Now, while on the phone, Marie heard the training room doors close, and they now know his exact location. Now, back with Annabeth and Jordan, they arrive on campus as her visions are getting worse as they go to try to find Marie to prevent his nightmare from coming true. Now, back with Sam and Emma, he admits to not knowing how to handle being jealous because, of course, this is his first quote-unquote girlfriend that he's ever had, as he wants to work on his feelings. But speaking of Greg, he finds them and he has found Marie. Now, Greg offers to fly Emma to where Marie is, and Sam steps in and he wants to take her, and as they're arguing, we see Emma leaves on her own. Now, as I said in the past, I still don't trust Greg, but he seems to be a good guy so far. But if he is a good person, I think they're setting up that he can be someone we can expect to see die in next week's finale. Now, we see the crew is back all together, and Annabeth lays it all out for Marie. If she goes after Godolkin, she could risk the lives of many, including herself. Now, Marie doesn't believe in her sister's visions because if her visions were true, she would have been able to stop herself from getting kidnapped and getting her throat slit. Now, in order to show Marie that her visions are true, she drops a bombshell on her. Remember those childhood nightmares? They weren't just bad dreams, they were foreshadowing to what happened to their parents. She's been living with the guilt of knowing that she could have stopped it, but she chose to blame her big sister instead of herself. That is a huge reveal, because if I'm Marie, I'm not going to lie, I'm actually kind of pissed thinking this whole time that she was the monster and she could have done anything to stop what happened to her parents. But in hindsight, her sister knew the whole time. Now, to be fair, I do feel for Annabeth. Of course, she was a child when it happened. She didn't know what her powers were, but man, again, that is a huge reveal, and I would love to know in the comments, whose side would you be on in that situation? Do you feel bad for Marie? Do you feel bad for Annabeth? Let's talk about this in the comments below. But back to the scene, we see Marie is still set with her plans. She believes this is the only way to stop Cypher and Homelander, and she's sticking with her decision to help Godolkin. Now we see Jordan grabs Marie's arm and tells her that they won't allow them to leave to go heal Godolkin. Now, Marie apologizes to Jordan for what she's about to do. As we see, Marie unleashes her powers, and not just on Jordan, but on Emma, Sam, and Greg. Not only that, but she looks at Kate and says that if she heals her, Kate has to use her powers and push them away from Marie to protect them. Now, in a surprising move, Kate refuses to do so, keeping her promise and never using her powers against them again, as Marie decides to let them go, but the damage is already done. As Marie and Polarity head off on their own separate missions, Marie's going to find Godolkin and Polarity will find Cypher. Now, let's go back to that moment, because what Marie did to her friends, is this the start of Marie's dark side? Is she becoming more like Homelander than she realizes? I'm a firm believer that the best villains truly believe that they're the heroes of their own story, and Marie thinking her way is the only way to save the world and to take out Homelander. I hope I'm wrong, because I am a fan of Marie, but this can be an Anakin Skywalker situation because she seems to be going down a very dangerous path. Meanwhile, in the training room, Polarity is going head-to-head with Cypher. He's throwing weights at Cypher, but Cypher is just basically laughing it off. And that's because nothing can physically harm him. But then Cypher notices Marie isn't with him. As he tries to leave, we see Polarity slams the door shut, and the rest of the gang walks in. Annabeth, Emma, and Kate go off to find Marie, while Polarity, Greg, Sam, and Jordan are ready to keep Cypher from leaving this room. Now, Cypher can't control Polarity, but he can control the others. And this, my friends, turns into the most violent game of Tag You're It, as Cypher is jumping from body to fight against Polarity. Now, this scene was pretty badass, and I wish it lasted a little bit longer, but we do see Polarity eventually stops the madness by knocking Cypher out, just like he did back at his house, leaving Cypher down and completely vulnerable. Meanwhile, Marie finds Godolkin in the basement. Now, Godolkin confirms his identity with a nod and agrees to help stop Cypher, if of course she heals him, which we see she does. As we see him regaining his strength, all his pain gone now as Marie collapses. As Emma, Kate, and Annabeth finally find Marie just as she wakes up. And Godolkin, well, he's now up and about, thanking Marie for relieving his pain. Now, back in the training room, we see Cypher wakes up as well. Now, he's feeling pain, real human pain, for the first time in what seems like forever. As Polarity is about to kill Cypher, he begs him to stop because, as he says, he's not him. We find out that his real name is Doug, and he used to live in his car with his cat after being fired from Blockbuster. That's right, Blockbuster, the last store which closed back in 2014, so Doug's been gone for quite a while. We also know that Cypher, quote-unquote Cypher, delivered Marie, meaning that Godolkin has been using Doug's body for at least 18 years. Doug explains that there was no Cypher. It was Godolkin the whole time. Now this reveal raises so many questions. Did anyone at Vought know that Doug was secretly Godolkin? It just makes me wonder, like, how did he become a doctor? Did he just fake his way up? Did people know who he really was? And how did he ultimately become the dean of God U? I really do hope that we get a better understanding in the finale of how he went this long passing as Doug, and how no one from Doug's personal life wondered where he went and what happened to him. Or maybe that's why he was chosen, because he had no one besides his cat, so he was basically an easy target. Now, back in the basement, we see Godolkin admits that Sister Sage was right. Marie would come looking for him as thinking that she was playing a hero. And then we see he quotes Cypher's own words to Kate, and Kate knows. Godolkin was Cypher all along as we watched him leave the basement. Now outside, Godolkin breathing fresh air for the first time in a long time, he encounters the Bud Pledge. He asks him what his powers are, which are he can turn his feet into his hands. Not exactly impressive, as Godolkin knows his name, his ranking, and we watch as he dismisses him by killing him. From there, we see Godolkin going into a field filled with students waiting to be judged. We watch as he walks in his field, looking to choose who's going to live and who's going to die. The power, the judgment, the belief that he is the answer to making sure that the Supes are the superior ones walking on this earth.
I'm impressed. A lot of us are. We could use you.
For what?
You want to join the resistance?
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, the finale, Episode 8, titled The Guardians of Godolkin. In this episode, we see Thomas Godolkin is officially back and his grand plans come to light. Meanwhile, the student rankings are reset, and now every student has a chance to be in the top 10, but at what cost? Man, we got a lot to discuss about this finale, so let's break it all down. Full spoilers ahead. We open this finale with a flashback taking us back to 1967, where we open the season with Project Odessa. We watch as Godolkin wakes up long enough to inject himself with V1 as it's working on him, as we see its effects hitting his face and his neck. It's not killing him like the other ones did, but as it's fully entered his body, he gets engulfed by the flames. Now we cut back to present day, where we find Doug throwing up on Polarity's carpet. It's here we learn that the reason Godolkin didn't age is because he took V1, which is the same V Stormfront and Soldier Boy took. Now, speaking of Stormfront and Soldier Boy, I would bet despite what happens to Godolkin at the end of this episode, he'll most likely be involved in the prequel series Vought Rising in some capacity. Now, as I predicted, Doug tells them that he was Godolkin's second puppet after being controlled and having to kill a Dr. Fielder who served as Godolkin's first puppet. Doug was taken by Godolkin back in 1996, and he didn't have much family left, so he made for an easy target because nobody would be looking for him. Now we watch as Marie tries to use her powers to heal Doug, but her tank's on empty after healing Godolkin. Now, the million-dollar question that's been on my mind for the last few weeks gets brought up in this scene, as Annabeth says, why didn't Godolkin just mind control Marie weeks ago? And here's where another one of my predictions comes to light, as I predicted weeks ago. He wasn't able to control Marie because she's too powerful. Project Odessa is her superpower shield, and Godolkin couldn't touch her with his mind control manipulation. Man, shout out to Doug, and again, shout out to Hamish, as we see Doug is grateful for what they did for helping him get out of the control of Godolkin, but we see that Doug is in pretty rough shape. As Polarity will take him to a friend to be looked at, meanwhile the rest of the crew heads back to the campus to lay low. Now, I want to bring up a nitpick that I had early on this episode based on the last scene from the previous episode where we saw Godolkin walking in the field. I assumed that he was going to start his plan to eliminating the weak Supes by saying who's next at the end of the episode, but we didn't see him continue that plan. Instead, we cut to Godolkin eating everything that he can get his hands on, including Sister Sage. Now, it's not really explained where they are exactly in God U, but it turns out that everything this season, from Starlight finding the Odessa file to Marie being sent back to God U, this was all orchestrated by Sage. She's always been playing a long game. Now, Sister Sage, or as he calls her, Jessica, invites Godolkin to live with her in her apartment in the tower. Now we watch as he accepts her invite to live with her, and man, talk about a power couple and a terrifying one. But first, this power couple has to figure out a way how to introduce Godolkin to Homelander, that way he doesn't feel threatened. But before they get to that stage, we see Godolkin tell Sage that he has one more class to teach. Despite having a lot of work to do, he's still got something important to do back at God U. Now, something I was hoping to learn more in depth in this finale, and I was dying to know, how did Sage and Godolkin first meet? How long have they been exactly working together, and when did their professional relationship turn personal? Hopefully we get some flashbacks or hints of this in season 5 of The Boys, because I would imagine Homelander will inevitably ask why he wasn't told about Godolkin's survival. Now, another thing I want to mention because I believe it's important to their relationship. Now, something that we know from Godolkin's past is that he and Frederick Vought were pals. They bonded by their shared white supremacist views, which we saw earlier in this season with that hidden room. With that being said, this makes his inevitable fall for a black woman in Sage a really complex and frankly interesting story. How does a man with those deeply ingrained beliefs fall for someone so contradictory to his ideology? Again, I was hoping to get more insight on that, but again, maybe Vought Rising or season 5 of The Boys will explain all this. Now back in the call with Polarity, Doug shares how much Andre pissed off Godolkin when he was at Elmira, as he mentions how great of a person Andre was. Now hearing these nice stories about how his son was versus how Godolkin would consistently say how weak he was, this puts a smile on Polarity's face and makes him laugh with joy hearing this. But unfortunately, this joyous moment is cut short, literally cut, as Doug is stabbed in the gut and killed by Black Noir. Was it me, or did this scene remind anyone else of the scene of Captain America Winter Soldier on the highway when he came out of nowhere? As we watch as Noir takes a selfie with Polarity as he's knocked out. Now later in this episode, we find out that Noir is a big fan of Polarity as an actor, which explains why he took that photo with his favorite actor. Now meanwhile on campus, Marie's admitting that she let Godolkin's chosen one BS get to her head, clouding her judgment, which led to her not thinking logically and healing Godolkin back to his full strength. Now, Emma lifts her spirits by reminding her that they have each other to lean on when times are tough, as they have this now new developed messed up little chosen found family, as we watch them share a hug that actually includes Kate. And here's where we get the beautiful resolution for Kate's arc. After nobly declining to get her powers back for destructive purposes against her friends, we see Marie offers a genuine apology, and in a massive step forward, she heals Kate, restoring her powers. Kate's redemption arc is now complete. She's back in the fold, and honestly, I'm here for it. Meanwhile, Godolkin uses modern technology to make his announcement that he is back by going live. We see the students across the campus glued to their screens as Godolkin declares that he's ready to right the wrongs of the campus. He's resetting the ranking system to 0 and opening up his advanced seminar to everyone, making the path to the top 10 and a spot in the 7 wide open. Sounds great, right? Now here's another nitpick that I have about this episode. Godolkin, one of Vought's most important figures and one of the most important figures in this universe, back from the dead using modern technology, and no one from Vought, not even Homelander, shows up to find him immediately after he went live? And the media, you would assume that the campus would be swarming with them because of his return from seamlessly being back from the dead after missing for decades. And on that note, this is where I felt the stakes didn't really feel as high as the episode intended in my eyes. This middle portion of the episode felt a little discombobulated and a little lackadaisical. Now we watch the team has to come up with a way to prevent the students from going to his class, because this is obviously a trap by Godolkin's methods of eliminating the weak soups, as we see Marie makes her own live to warn the students not to go because again, Godolkin can't be trusted. Meanwhile, we watch as Sam and Emma head to his frat to stop them from falling into the trap as well. But we see Rufus doesn't listen and he roofies them and he goes anyway. Honestly, the whole Sam joins the frat subplot has felt a bit forgotten and unnecessary to me all season long. To me, the main purpose seemed to be setting up the Deeps cameo back in the earlier part of the season, and for the student Black Hole to do what he does later in this episode. Now back at Godolkin's special seminar, we watch him deliver a lecture. He talks about the soup's potential, but he also mentions the embarrassment at their mediocrity. All while he's discussing this, we see Sage looks utterly disappointed as she gets a call from Homelander, but she ignores it. As we see, Godolkin lays down the rules. To pass, they must stop him from pushing a button on the other side of the room by any means necessary. Again, the look on Sage's face says it all. She's not a fan of this plan, as we watch the students start brutally fighting each other under Godolkin's control. Now we see Godolkin visibly overworking himself, but he still manages to hit the button. Now this shows that his powers do have limits, something that he later confesses to Sage, as he tells her that he's only ever been able to control 2 people at once, but he pushed himself to control all the students. Now the question is, why? As he tells her he's using his own studies on pushing himself to finally controlling Marie. Because if he can control one Odessa baby, he can control another, that one being Homelander. Now this is where Godolkin makes an audible on their plans on Phase 2 that needs Homelander a part of it, but Godolkin believes his plan is better. Now Sage is realizing that he's completely abandoning their years of planning and basically knows it's over between them, as he makes the wounded students start to get up and dance under his control. Okay, I have to call this out. From everything we've seen and learned about Sage so far in the last season of The Boys and this TV show, she's always 100 steps ahead of anyone she comes across, and I also remind you all, her superpower is being the world's smartest person. You're telling me that the world's smartest person didn't have a contingency plan for this exact scenario? It's just hard for me to believe, and if I'm being honest, it feels like poor writing. Dumbing down a character for the plot is a major problem I have with any storytelling, especially in the comic book media. It's unfortunate, especially when the dynamic between Sage and Godolkin was so compelling. I just felt this payoff felt underwhelming and, quite frankly, generic. Now, amidst the chaos, a panicked student made it out of the seminar screaming that Godolkin is killing everybody. This leads to Marie finally remembering Polarity's warning about the herd. She has to save them. As Marie apologizes to Jordan for bailing on them twice, we see Jordan forgives her, but they also break up with her as they just want to be friends. Now, they don't get much time to discuss what just happened as Annabeth and the others arrive and they have an idea what they could do to stop Godolkin. Now, let's talk about this breakup moment for a second. I think we all knew that the breakup was inevitable. And look, I don't blame Jordan for making the decision because Marie be switching up more than Jordan using their powers, but is it me or did it feel kind of tacked on to this episode? Now, obviously, they have much bigger things to take care of in this episode, but the moment itself could have had more time and room to actually breathe. Now, meanwhile, we catch up with Polarity, who's being held hostage by Black Noir. Now, Noir, again, apparently is a film buff and is gushing about Polarity's old movies and how much he hates the sequels. As we see, Sage enters the room, and after being left disappointed by her ex now, she begins taking it out on Polarity. She brings up how much more powerful he was when he was sick. Then she takes a low blow by mentioning his deceased wife and son, telling him that it's just a matter of time before he dies as well. Now, as she leaves the room, he notices the door wasn't locked as he makes his escape. Now, back in the training room, it's a bloodbath. Students are either dead or badly wounded. Now, as the next wave of students enter the room, this is the moment I believe we all been waiting for as Kate uses her powers normally again. She makes the guy controlling the doors let one more person into the room, and it's Marie. She's ahead of the schedule of Godolkin's game of leveling up. We see Godolkin looking visibly exhausted with scars popping up on his hands and his neck as Marie makes him an offer. Let all the students go and she won't kill him. Pretty simple. Now, Godolkin makes fun of her fighting style about her using her hands as we see him doing the same thing as he takes control over the remaining students in the room as we see a 20v1. Now, this is where their plan literally comes through. Jordan, Sam, Greg, Emma, Harper, and Bushmaster all emerge from Black Hole, well, I guess you could say his black hole. As they fight the mind control students, my girl Emma flawlessly goes supersize and kicks Godolkin down. We see Bushmaster holds him down and Harper uses her powers to temporarily take Godolkin's powers, releasing the rest of the students. Now, did anyone else get major Infinity War vibes when they were on Titan in this scene? Y'all remember when the Avengers held Thanos down from Mantis to put him to sleep? Now we see Marie taunts Godolkin, telling him that they beat him even with the useless soups, but unfortunately this was a part of his plan as we see he now has control over Marie. Annabeth, now in the room, sees her vision coming true as Marie, under Godot's control, manipulates all of her friends' bodies, slowly killing them. Now we get the typical villain speech, except that now it's coming from Marie. But then a hero arrives. It's Polarity, as he stops Godot, who we know his powers can't control him. Now with Marie back in control, she gets up and explodes Godot's entire body. After doing this, she looks at Polarity and simply says that was for Andre. This was probably my favorite moment of the episode. Godot exploding at Marie's hands was so dope to watch, and Polarity witnessing all of that was just the icing on the cake. Now deep down, I would have loved if Polarity, Marie, and Kate all played a role in killing him together, seeing as though that he personally hurt them the most this season. Now, I want to throw something out there to you all. Now look, I know Godot needs his body to function in order to puppet other people, but is there a way where now that he is leveled up, where he's able to do like a Charles Xavier Professor X in X-Men Last Stand, where, spoiler alert for the end of that movie, we saw that even though his body was destroyed, he was able to put his consciousness into another person's body. With all that being said, could Godot have done this, meaning that he's still alive? Now, as we enter our final moments of this episode, we see Polarity warns the crew that Vault is coming. He instructs them to escape together and never return. Now, before leaving, we see Emma shares a heartfelt goodbye with Polarity, which again, earlier in the season, I love their combo, as we see that he's going to stay back and fight the good fight for his son, Andre. Now, before she leaves, she gives Greg a kiss, and I'll admit I was wrong. I thought he was an op. I thought he was going to be working for Godot, but he's a good guy. As we see, she kisses him goodbye. Now, he's going to stay. He's not going to go with them because his sister's still on campus. Now, watching them go on a run feels a little bit repetitive. Another school year, another escape plan, but we'll see if season 3 of Gen V, which I am very confident they're going to announce the season 3 sooner rather than later, but in season 3, I can see them possibly returning back to the school again at some point after whatever happens next in The Boys season 5. Now on the road as the new team, the Guardians of Godot, they're looking for Stan Edgar. Which, by the way, I don't know why they don't just drive to his bunker unless they don't remember how to get there. Now, surprisingly, Annabeth is going to stay with them, and she's finally on good terms with her sister Marie, and she even calls her a hero as they hug each other. This is basically the X-Men now, and I'm here for it, man. But the team is about to get even bigger. As the lights around them start flickering, we see Starlight arrives. She's impressed by what they were able to do by taking down Godot, as she invites them to join the Resistance. Clearly, they accept this offer, forming a super team with the remains of the boys, as we see A-Train arrives and he welcomes them to the team. I'm going to be so honest with you all right now. I love this moment for the crew. It's all built to this moment, but it also felt so corny. The episode ends with a rock song playing in the background, and it felt like a 90s Michael Bay movie as everyone is exchanging these classic cheesy smiles. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed so loud at this moment. But getting back to the seriousness of the last moment of the scene, it's safe to assume that season 5 of The Boys is going to be huge with the new additions of Gen V characters joining the storyline. It's already been confirmed that season 5 takes place 6 months after this finale. I would hope that the first mission they do is to save and rescue the other members of the boys like Frenchie, Kimiko, and Huey as they all come together to stop Homelander and also stop Butcher. Now, as far as my thoughts on this finale, not to play the compare game, but overall, I will say right now, I enjoyed season 1's finale more, and also I enjoyed season 1 as a season overall than season 2, but I will say this finale was still solid overall. If I'm being honest, it was much better than a recent comic book show, Peacemaker. Again, I would say my disappointment or my issues with this finale really kind of center around the underwhelming elements surrounding Godot's plan and how it kind of felt like low stakes in this finale. And sticking with Godot, I hate to admit it, but my fear that I mentioned last week that Ethan wouldn't live up to how Hamish played Godot came true. I just felt like Ethan was more cartoonish and wasn't anywhere near as menacing or as calculating as the villain as Hamish played it. Again, he was the weakest part of this episode for me. And also, I didn't like how Sage was written in this episode and how it ended up that she didn't have a plan B, C, or D to just in case Godot switched on her. But speaking positively, I love seeing the team back together as they will now be known as the Guardians of Godolphin. I love seeing Kate getting her powers back and her being back in the fold. We have the sisters now being on the same page, and Polarity survived this season. I didn't know if he was going to survive because of how things played out earlier, but he did survive, and he keeps the fight on going, and he's going to be fighting for his son now, and I love that. Now, as far as the season goes, again, I personally preferred season 1 over season 2. As I mentioned earlier in my breakdowns, it took a while for me to get really invested in the story, especially in the first 3 episodes, which I thought were kind of inconsistent. Don't get me wrong, there were some cool moments in those first 3 episodes, but for me, it wasn't until episode 4 and beyond where the season really kind of found its footing and it really became more focused on the characters and developing the story. And also, I will give props to, again, the writers, how they handled the death of Andre and obviously the death of Chance and how it played into the story. So, again, overall, a really solid season. Just not as good as season 1, but I am happy how things ended with the Gen V characters now being integrated into the boys. So with all that being said, what did you all think about the finale of Gen V season 2? What worked? What didn't work? What were some of your favorite moments, least favorite moments? What do you all hope to see with the future of these characters? What did you think about the season overall? Did you prefer season 1 of Gen V, season 2 of Gen V? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. Now, if you all have made it to this point in the video, I want to take this time to thank you, number 1, for watching this video, but also if you watch all of the other videos I've did for this season. I love the Boys universe. I can't wait to see what happens next, but again, I want to thank you all for the support. If you are still here, the special word of the week, put in the comments right now, #Guardians of Godolphin. Alrighty, y'all, thank you for watching or listening to my breakdown of the season finale of Gen V. Alrighty, y'all, if you enjoyed my breakdown of the season finale, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. And when you all do so, if you're on YouTube, there's going to be a hype button that pops up, which allows you to hype up the video and spreads it to new viewers, which I would appreciate if you all can do that for your boy. Also, if you all can hit that share button, share this video to anyone and everyone you know that loves talking about the boys and Gen V, share it, I would appreciate it. And last but not least, if you enjoy yourself, stick around by subscribing to the channel today. Now, if you all are listening to this via podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you all for listening. Leave your thoughts on this episode and the finale and the season in the comments below, but also follow the podcast and leave me a rating and a review as well. Stay tuned for more reviews for new films coming out, new shows, including my coverage coming pretty soon for HBO's It, Welcome to Derry. All right, y'all, don't forget you all are awesome, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.